Hi, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. You have Naomi here with us, and I'll be introducing her in just a moment. But my name is Kat, and I am here. Some of you have know me from some of the Q&A. I did a Q&A. I hosted the Q&A with Naomi, and I've been involved in the Real Skinny on Fat. And what some of you don't know about me is that I did all of the writing, the copywriting for the Skinny on Fat. I wrote the emails, I wrote some of the messages that you've been getting. And just like a lot of the other people involved in the Skinny on Fat, it has transformed my life. So I want you to know that, Naomi, I met you about a year ago. Yeah. And just from getting into the material, getting into the writing, doing the information, I learned so much, and I just started implementing. I kept hearing Naomi say quick switches, easy things to do, right? So I started implementing and I started doing some of those things. And over the last 9 months of my life, my health has transformed. I am so excited to be here because I am a walking testimonial of what's happened. This is a picture of me from 9 months ago. Can you tell? See how my shoulders and my face? And now my face is thinner. I've lost 40 pounds, but what's more important than that is I'm going to be 56 this year, and I'm healthier than I was even in my 30s and 40s. But what, Naomi, I don't think you even know about me is that this has been a struggle my whole adult life. And I even got up over 300 pounds at one point. So this has been an ongoing issue. And what Naomi teaches, Naomi, your quick switches and your tricks, they really do work. And I'm in better health than I've ever been before. And I owe it to what you've been teaching us. So what really strikes me, Naomi, about what you bring to us is you're such a guide, you're such an explorer. And what I've done in the last 9 months with you is the easiest thing I have ever done in terms of my health and my weight and my looks. And what's really interesting is that although it's nice and everyone focuses on losing weight or being thin or looking better, but my life is better, my work is better, everything's better as a result. So I just want to give a personal thank you to you from what's happened since I've met you. And you're bringing so much tonight. And I want, for those of us that are here with you, take just a minute, grab a pencil, a pen, some paper. I'm here to tell you guys, this is a note-taking webinar. This is going to blow your mind, the stuff that Naomi's sharing with us tonight. Naomi, some things you're covering tonight, you've never released to us before. This is some new stuff that you've kind of kept. I'm excited to hear about it.
Kat, I'm so excited to be here with all of you. Thank you, thank you. I've been waiting for this really since we ended the Real Skinny on Fat. I was enjoying the process, connecting with so many of you every single day. I mean, we have thousands of people here tonight, and I'm delighted. I'm so thrilled. I want tons of connection between all of us. And I would say, you know, welcome, Judy. Hey, Susan, Rebecca. Hopefully the feedback has eased up a little bit. We've got Lizzie on the line. So we've got our whole community building up, and hundreds of questions have come in like in no time at all. And my goal is for us to get through these questions and really take the opportunity to answer them. We did a little fun game today, and so many of you went on and tried out for our giveaway. So I've got two winners. I've got one from Facebook and one from Instagram. So I thought I'd share them with you. So Sandra Coplay, you are our Facebook winner. Congratulations. Super excited. And Melissa Ott, you are our Instagram winner. So we'll contact you through the different platforms. But more than anything, I just want to thank you all so much for being here with us. And Kat, I am honored and thrilled to have you here with us as well. I didn't know that you had lost 40 pounds in this journey. What I do know is when I met you, I fell in love with you because you were so incredibly honest, right? You said to me, I've tried every single diet. Some of them have worked, some of them haven't. Some of them work for a little while, some of them don't. But you were able to articulate what so many people feel so frequently. And I think that ability is something that I am just delighted, because when we think about the Real Skinny on Fat and the number of hours that we put into that program and the number of years that the researchers, over 80 of these researchers that we pulled together, have devoted to their area of expertise, it was mind-blowing. Like, we came up with a number of like 2,400 years of
Oh, yep,
knowledge.
2,400 years, yeah.
So I was just so blown away. And what we're going to share tonight is going to be really super exciting, because I'm going to share with you some things that I've never shared before, but you ask so many good questions. So I just want to keep getting the questions and getting the feedback. I've got my whole screen here, and we want to, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. Is this resonating with you? I want to answer the things that you want to know about. This time is so precious. And what I've devoted it to is what I call my 10Xs. And the 10Xs, my dream and my goal for those 10Xs is that we're literally going to be able to 10X the use of this time. So when we're done with this webinar, and hopefully you've got your pen and paper and you're taking some notes, because I'm really sharing with you the things that I find to be some of the most valuable, sorry about that, some of the most valuable research that's out there from so many different experts. And I'm always curating and wanting you to have the most benefit from the information that you get. So tonight is about 10xing your time, getting the most value, and we're going to do it in my style, and I hope you like it. It's about self-care and self-love. And this is the week of Valentine's. Thursday is Valentine's Day. And I'm really passionate about this time of year. I have 4 children, and we're having a special Valentine's dinner. And we're all just really sharing in that love, because we know that love and the heart and how we open that up is what gives us so much joy and well-being, and true health, in my mind, comes from what's going on inside of our mind. The thoughts that we have 60,000 thoughts on average a day. And what I've found is that so many of us are just surviving. We're not thriving. And so my dream and my goal from this webinar is to really get you all to get to a place where you can thrive, and that our entire game is uplifted. We are a community of people that are passionate about the same things. I am just like you. I'm probably a little bit more risk-taking. I was talking to my mother the other day, and she reminded me of the first time I ran away from home. I was just a tiny little thing, like less than 5 years old. And she said, you didn't have a sense of fear. You were just so curious. And I never knew, like what was going to be happening. You frightened me. But really, it's that curiosity, that discovery, that allows me to be here with you and guide you through all of the experts that I have access to, that I've had access to for the past 25 years. And I was chatting back and forth with Dr. Sanjay Gupta yesterday, and we were just marveling at, Dr. Sanjay Gupta wrote the foreword to my book, Glow 15. That was my first book that came out this year. And we were talking a little bit about the fact that this past December 18th, had the opportunity to interview Yosunori Osumi. He is in Japan, in Tokyo, and he is the Nobel Prize winner of autophagy. And that was a dream come true for me. And Dr. Yosunori was so humble and so kind and so incredibly shy. He has not done a video one-on-one interview in 7 years. I was so moved by that experience and being able to really share that with all of you that I cried tears of joy. And it was that feeling of joy and heartfelt passion for the work that he's done that allowed me to thrive. And that was like the greatest gift of self-care that I could have given myself at that time. So now it's all about you. And for any of you that are, just starting to think about what it is that you can do to sort of upgrade your health, take it to that next level. Many of you have been doing it for years, and the questions that I get from all of you just blow my mind. So I'm going to do exactly what I've said I'm going to do here, which I'm delighted to do, and give you the quick switches. So instead of doing this, we're going to make a small tweak, and it's going to give you a big result, or even some of the shortcuts, right? So when I get to sit down with a researcher who's been studying one topic for 30 years and say, if there's something that you want the world to know, that's the most important piece of your research, and you want to distill it, what would that be? That's what I'm sharing with all of you tonight. So we're going to get started on the 10xing of our lives. How many of you want to 10x your health, and how many of you really want to sort of take things to the next level, and you are committed to understanding that during this time together tonight, you're going to walk away with 1, 2, 3, at a minimum, transformative concepts for your own health. So send me a note. You know, we want to keep getting your feedback, and hopefully that really makes sense. So
Naomi,
yes?
while those are coming in, when you said you're going to do these 10x, I was so captivated by that because we hadn't really talked about that before. And you're talking about 10xing, but I want us to really understand what you mean by that while all those comments are coming in. When you say 10x, there's a lot of people that use 10x as an example. Some people say 10x like 10x the work, right? But that's not what you're doing. You're saying, do this and you will get this result, and it's easy. And those of you who are sending in comments and questions, guys, there's no question. Sometimes it's those simple, small questions that flip something for someone. So keep those coming in too. But Naomi, I really want to understand your concept of 10x before we really get into your 10x strategies.
Okay, so I see 10xing, like we can 10x our health, we can 10x our weight, our fitness, our vitality. And Kimberly Snow, I'm so pumped that you're ready to go. And Shirley, you know, this is really exciting. Susan, totally ready. Yes, I am ready. And I think 10x means to me what the difference is between just surviving and thriving. So as a mother, as someone who's, a founder of companies, I travel on average about 200,000 miles a year. I deal with my autoimmune health, and I've got so many things and so many areas juggling in my life. There's no way that I can get the feeling of satisfaction and joy and really be taking care of myself unless I can use the 10x principles. So out of necessity, I had to develop these 10x principles, which is why I go to the top researchers in their particular field and say, okay, give me that nugget. And that's what we're totally going to share and go over. And that's exactly what it means to me. It's a necessity that I think we all have and we all deserve. And it's a mindset, right? So if we can get our mind into that place where like, yes, we're going to get these kind of benefits, we're off to the races.
Thank you.
So should we get into them? Okay, so I'm going to start. I like to do things in numbers. My mind is very systematic and number oriented. And I just want to tell you guys, I'm constantly trying new things so that what I'm sharing with you with these 10Xs tonight and these pillars it's the way I live. It's the way my mind works, and they're not new to me. A lot of you can probably see that my skin looks really bad tonight. That's because I was trying a new 10X that I will be sharing with you at a later point, but this one didn't work out. So just as an FYI, those things happen, and it's all good, right? The other one is my hair is a lot shorter than it normally is. That was an accident. So with 10Xing, the biggest thing I would just say is that when we think about learning these concepts, we want that self-care, we want that self-love to be the filter, the lens that we're always going through. We're always looking through that lens, because if we're looking through a lens of criticism toward ourselves, and we know that we're our own worst critics, it's so much more difficult to incorporate and learn this kind of information. Does that make sense? Let me know if that's making sense to you all. I'd love to, get more feedback on that. Hold on one second. We got a little feedback here. I can't see that. Okay, good. There we go. Great. Okay. So we're getting lots more things. So the 5 pillars that I want to share with you, where all of our 10Xs sort of fit underneath, are number 1, functional food, number 2, nutrients, number 3, beauty inside and out. For men and women, beauty is health. If our organs are beautiful on the inside and our skin and our hair and our body is beautiful on the outside, that's the same. Exercise and self-care. I am so excited to really introduce you to these 5 pillars of wellness. We're going to go right into them tonight, but hopefully you'll remember these are the 5 pillars that I live by. So you've got exercise, you've got nutrition, you've got functional foods, you've got beauty, and you've got self-care, the things that make us feel good. So let's start with the functional foods. And functional foods are what we put into our diet. So we're eating our food every single day, right? And this concept of incorporating the foods that really can transform our health so they have a 10X effect, that's what this pillar is all about. And the second pillar is really making sure that you can flood your body with the nutrients it needs. For example, I was with a very good friend of mine today, and this morning I started my day off with 2 types of magnesium. And I take a lot of magnesium. I use magnesium, in my Epsom salt baths. I use it in the daytime. I'm using it all the time. And today I was with a good friend of mine that had low white blood cell count. And we were talking about the importance of magnesium and how it affects hundreds and hundreds of reactions in our body. So that's the kind of nutrient that I'm talking about. It has a huge effect on our health, and you want to be able to flood your body with it because most of us are deficient in magnesium. So that's just one of those kind of concepts. And then, when you think about beauty, beauty can come in all different ways. It can come from the moisture of our skin, which means that our organs are hydrated. It can come from a variety of different things. The 4th pillar is really how exercise and movement can transform our health. And then the last one is the one that I'm super passionate about. That's the one that just helps us to feel good. It's the self-care. I can't tell you how much pushback I've gotten from so many people over the years when I say, self-care is really important. Like, you've got to put your oxygen mask on first. In fact, I think there are even some people that are probably in our group right now that have pushed back on me. And I love you and I love that, but I'm going to push right back because it is proven, it is science, it is what we need to think. And it's very difficult, especially for women, to recognize, look, you have to first take care of yourself in order to nurture and care for the people around you. And nothing breaks my heart more than seeing when the women in my life are not doing that for themselves. The women that I work with, I've got my team, I've got a bunch of people around here tonight, and it's really exciting, and we're all in the group. So I love it, and I'm always learning from all of you as well. Gerald says, I'm always learning from you. Well, thank you, Gerald. I'm learning from you all as well. I mean, I learn every single day from so many of the great things. So I want to talk a little bit about my background with sugar. And it really took me starting the docu-series that I began a year ago, November. So it's been over a year now that we started with the docu-series. But I had no idea until I really embraced keto. So I had started it a little bit before the docu-series, and now I've been doing it for about, I guess it's almost a year and a half now. But it wasn't until I really embraced keto that I understood that I had an addiction, a true addiction to sugar. And it's weird because when I grew up in England. My parents didn't feed me sugar. They were against it. We ate a very natural way, unprocessed life. But when I moved over to this country, I started to, on my way home from school when I was in middle school, walk past the little convenience store. And that convenience store had all sorts of candies. And so I would be trying these different candies all the time and enjoying them. And I started to eat a candy bar every single day on my way home from school. And I didn't really think much of it because I had an awesome metabolism. I wasn't gaining weight, but I started to have mood swings. I started to have my energy going up and down. And if I fast forward to my professional career, I became very embarrassed because I couldn't get off of my sugar addiction. But I didn't know it was an addiction. I didn't have any idea that's what it was. And the worst thing I could do for my body was eat all this sugar, but I wasn't able to change it. So I'm curious for all of you that are on our live chat, and I would love to see that. How many of you have been addicted to sugar? How many of you are still addicts? And how are you, if you have been an addict like I am, how did you deal with that addiction? I really want to hear that. So Kathy's saying sugar is like crack. You can't leave it alone once you start. And I'm the same way. I mean, I absolutely am. And what's interesting about sugar is once I was able to get over the physical addiction of it, it was still in my head, right? So I wanted that dopamine rush. I really wanted a dopamine rush from the sugar. And so it took me probably 6 months of being on keto for me to realize, wow, I had an addiction. And what I learned, and this is why I love the Real Skinny on Fat, I love how it's transformed my own life. And I love being able to condense this information and share all of it with all of you. What I learned is instead of really avoiding my addiction, I was able to feed my craving for sweet things with, for example, the fat bombs. So I got rid of the sugar, but anytime I would have a craving, I would feed myself a delicious little fat bomb. And that was like my gateway to health and well-being. So I would just say, Gerald is saying, you know, I'm a truck driver and I was eating 1 pint of ice cream before breakfast. Oh my gosh. Long story short, I was over sugar at about 45 days of keto. So that's, you know, like so many of us say we love keto. We're unsure about some of the research. Like there's a lot of information, but I can tell you from working with the top researchers, we have the ability to overcome this addiction that captures so many of us, really through giving ourselves these opportunities to incorporate the right types of foods and things like that. So I want to share with you a 10X that's within the functional food pillar. So this is the pillar number 1. And many of you know about medium chain triglycerides, MCTs, right? This is a 10X activity. So here's the deal with MCTs. They can come from a lot of different sources. I believe in getting the MCTs from coconuts. Why? Because there's so many nutrients found in a coconut, right? There's the C8, the C10, the C12, the different chains of the fatty acids, and they all have different properties. So what makes MCT a 10X is when you take just 1 tablespoon a day. You may have heard me say this on Dr. Oz a couple of weeks ago. 1 tablespoon of medium chain triglyceride put into your coffee, put into whatever it is you're eating a day, that 1 tablespoon doubles your production of your precious ketones. And when you have more ketones that you're utilizing in your body, you're benefiting, you're getting more energy, more focus, you're really getting your body to burn the body fat, which is obviously, you know, what we're looking for. And MCT is our shortcut. It is the shortcut to keto. I just love it. All 4 of my children use MCT every single day. I put it in their food in the morning. My brother, my husband, everybody's into MCT. Like we go through tons of it. And what I learned when I first got into MCT was that the way that it's processed is different. So I was buying the MCT that was out there, and what I learned is that most of it is processed with hexane. And hexane is not the way we want to process it. And the reason it's processed that way is because it's very difficult to extract the precious MCTs from the overall coconut oil. So there are, like I ended up making an MCT because of my nature. And what we do is we use an enzymatic process. So the enzymatic, it's like the source of life. It's a natural process. Enzymes are so important for all of us, especially when we're on keto, because a lot of people on keto are eating, they're not used to eating such a high-fat diet. And I don't know, how you react to getting more of that high fat in your body, but enzymes can be a very important part of adjusting into keto. And so when you take the MCTs and you bring it into your life and you're using a form that's, extracted with enzymes, it is a powerful, powerful, powerful tool. And, the studies just keep coming in with MCTs. So I think that's something that should be in our coffee. I see Nana is saying it's in her coffee. We're seeing it in so many different areas. So it's okay to have, there's a question here, is it okay to have MCT more than once a day? Absolutely. I mean, they're like one of my children that we're using it for therapeutic reasons. He has 3 tablespoons a day. And it just depends on you, like how easy it is for you to adjust. If your digestive system is okay with it. We came out with a creamy MCT because it's softer on the digestive system. And my goal is just for the whole world to be able to know what MCTs are and benefit from them if they want to. So the next area that I want to focus on within the functional food section is collagen. So all of you know about collagen, right? You can get it in bone broth. I think I have some. So I've had 2 16-hour days, y'all, and this is bone broth with a chicken. This is organic chicken that comes from my house, and I'm going to drink this in a little while just to get that last bit of nutrient density that I'm looking for. But collagen is really, really powerful. And it makes up about 30% of our tissue. So 15 years ago, if you guys can believe that. No, I'm not 15 years old, 45 years old. 15 years ago, when I was really wondering, like what's going on with the aging process in my body, right? So 15 years ago, I was 30 years old. And at 30 years old, you're not necessarily seeing the signs of aging, but they have been happening for the past decades. So there's a lot of the invisible aspects of aging. And I was all over the world. I was spending a lot of time in Asia, and I was wondering why it was that so many women and men had such beautiful, beautiful skin. And I know that some of it is genetic, but I also recognized that everybody was drinking bone broth every single day, and they were taking collagen supplements. And so I made it my mission to not only take those supplements, but to bring it back here to the US where people could benefit from it. And so I brought like collagen as a beauty ingestible into the marketplace over a decade ago. And it makes me very happy right now that people are using this as part of their daily routine. So with collagen, you have to be careful. It's one of the most important things to understand, where is it coming from, right? So while I was obsessed with sort of the use of collagen in the Asian world, I would only source my collagen from Germany, where the experts over there were making like the exact peptide, collections, like certain amino acids just for the skin, certain peptides just for the joints, different peptides for different things. And so if you're using a collagen powder at your home, you want to look for, like Verisol is a very good collagen powder. You want to look for the ones that have a trademarked type of collagen that's able to source from a clean place, because what comes from Asia and what comes from a lot of these other countries, we just don't know how clean it is, and you have to, really take care of your health so that the collagen can benefit you in the right way, which is why I love to make, you know, the bone soup and get collagen from, you know, you can get it from a lot of the different shellfish. You can get it from all different places, and really benefit. So the next area that I want to go into is nutrients. So how many of you, I wonder, are taking more than 2 nutrients a day? And I love so many of your questions, and I'm like obsessing and looking at them and wanting to answer more. So let me just answer one. So does collagen peptides break a fast in coffee? Yes, it does. No collagen in coffee when you're fasting, but we're going to get way more into that in a little bit. So the nutrients that I want to know how many of you are taking more than 2 nutrients, like 2 supplements a day, and what sort of like how many are you taking every day? I'm going to share with you 2 that I'm really obviously deeply passionate about and that I believe can 10x your health. And you don't have to take them in a nutrient form. So many of you have probably noticed that I'm just starting to get into YouTube. I hope you join my YouTube channel because I'm going to be sharing with you the most mind-blowing videos. As I mentioned, I was just in Japan and I got so much fascinating footage. And yesterday or Monday, I posted a little piece about heart health. And so the first nutrient that your heart loves, that your genetics love, that your youth that's deep within your cells love is resveratrol. And we know that resveratrol it can come from the red wine grape, it can come from peanut butter, it can be found in dark chocolate. But what I love about resveratrol is it activates something called SIRT1, which is a gene in your body that literally turns off as we get older, and resveratrol switches it on. So it is like, it's almost as if it's mimicking caloric restriction. And when Dr. David Sinclair from Harvard first went on 60 Minutes and he really started to talk about it, resveratrol exploded. And there are thousands and thousands of studies on it. So you can drink in moderation, you know, on keto. Most people, if you're drinking a dry wine, like a dry farm wine or something along those lines, you can have a glass of wine and not bump out of keto as long as it's clean. And the resveratrol that you get from that glass of wine is very nourishing. But then, of course, you can get it in these other places. You can take a supplement that has it as well. And the other thing that I would love to talk to you about is green tea. So Emily, how do you know I'm talking about green tea and red wine? Green tea is something that is filled with EGCGs, right? EGCGs are so powerful. They're found in green tea, and they are the active nutrient that can improve your metabolism, reduce inflammation. They can be incorporated into your life easily and succinctly. I drink 1 to 3 cups of green tea every single day. And that was my doctor's prescription. While I was in Kyoto, Japan, I had the experience of the most amazing matcha green teas. And, you know, in Okinawa, where I've spent considerable time, the amount of green tea that they drink, and we know that the Okinawans live longer than any other group. You know, they have the largest group of centenarians, and green tea is their fuel, their main fuel of longevity. It's also that sense of joy, the movement. We're going to talk about a lot of the ways that they 10x their lives, but EGCGs that are found in green tea are definitely a 10x. So what I love about EGCG is it also really protects and sort of guards our DNA, and it protects us from so much of the damage. Both resveratrol and EGCG are what I call power phenols. So there are a handful of these power phenols. So you know about polyphenols, right? And we know that they're like supporting and protecting our health, and they have the antioxidant properties. But a power phenol activates your autophagy. And I love that you all know what autophagy is. And for those of you that don't know what autophagy is, it's been something that has changed my life. We have it in each and every one of our bodies. So you all have autophagy in your body, and all you have to do is activate it. And auto means self, phagy means to eat. So I'm not asking you to self-cannibalize here, but what I am saying is green tea, e.g. CGs, and resveratrol are powerphenols. So they activate your autophagy as well as protecting, having that antioxidant polyphenol protection. So it's like 2 for 1, which gives you the 10x. The next area I want to talk to you a little bit about is what we would focus on as it relates to beauty, right? So beauty is something that I've been passionate about my whole life. And I'm not talking about the beauty that we necessarily see. I'm talking about the beauty that's on the inside. So when I was having this conversation with my mother the other day, we were just talking about like what it is that really motivates me, and what it is that she's learned, you know, through my journeys, through this discovery, through going off the beaten path with me, which is what I do all the time. Like I'm taking you guys off the beaten path with me all over the world as we discover these nutrients, these functional foods, these beauty concepts, and the exercise and all of the pillars that we're going to talk about. But with beauty on the inside is what is expressed on the outside. And I know I keep saying this, but I think for us to truly be healthy, we have to understand that if our heart is being fed the good fats, which by the way, I don't know how many of you know this, but fat is your heart's preferred fuel. And so when you're feeding your heart its preferred fuel, you're creating beauty on the inside. So beauty on the inside, beauty on the outside, it's activated at night. So this is a very interesting concept. In the morning, we may be putting, you know, our creams, we may be putting our serums on our body, we may be activating our lymphatic system, we may be doing all of the things that really help us ingesting the nutrients to get beautiful. But what happens at night when we're sleeping is our autophagy is activated at a much, much higher level. So beauty is created by tapping into your circadian rhythm. So the Nobel Prize in Medicine was won in 2016 for autophagy, but in 2017, it was won for circadian rhythms. Every single cell in your body has a little clock. And if you can get that clock working so that it's really doing what it needs to do, that clock will get your cell to activate and deactivate the autophagy. And at night, you will go through a beauty cleanse. So it's not about putting a bunch of things on your body at night. It's about really letting your body detox. And that's how the beauty is created. And I can't say enough about sleep and the importance of it for our health and our beauty from the inside out. And I know for so many people that are watching right now, you know, your jobs make it difficult to do that. It's easier said than done. So many of us have sleep challenges, and sleep hygiene is such an important part of really getting that detoxifying beauty rest and beauty sleep, that rejuvenating care that we need. So we're going to learn a lot more about sleep, I'm sure, you know, over the years to come. Next week, when I'm at the conference with Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Ariana Huffington, you know, she has a huge focus on sleep, and I'm going to ask her what are her newest sort of hacks around sleep, and then I'll share those with all of you. But sleep and getting the beauty in that way at night, even if you can sleep one full sleep cycle and then make sure that you're waking up within a sleep cycle. So depending on what that is, that makes the difference. So for example, I know that 7.5 hours of sleep is way better for me than 8 hours, and that makes a big difference. So we're going to quickly go into exercise. So within 1 hour of waking up, I like to do movement, and I like to do what's called this sort of scratching movement. So I'm activating my lymphatic system. So I do it with my hands, I do it with my dry brush, but I really get my entire lymphatic system to have the opportunity to start, you know, cleaning out the toxins. So if it's going in the sauna, if it's exercising, whatever it is to get your lymph moving, that makes a big deal. You know, really working with the lymph nodes, stimulating your lymphatic system is a great way to 10x your fitness because it makes everything work better. And we know how important stretching is, but this kind of movement where you're putting that light pressure and you're really stimulating the circulation, the lymph system, is also helping to hydrate your body. And we're going to talk a little bit more about hydration in a few minutes. The other area that I think can totally 10x your exercise, it's a technique that has to do with twitching. So I've shared with you, you know, like 1 or 2 different twitches, and in the program that I'm going to share with you in a little while, that will go into a lot more of the different movements, the different twitches that we can do. But twitching, even if you twitch for like 1 minute, you know, if you're just shaking your leg up and down, you're just moving your body 1 minute every hour, it totally can transform the way your body experiences exercise. So that's a really important 10xer. So just think about twitching and how incredibly valuable that is. So if your mother told you don't twitch, don't, you know, stop shaking, the table's shaking, whatever it may be, well, now you know it's like one of the best and most interesting new health discoveries. The last one I'm going to share around exercise is walking. So if you can walk for 10 minutes after you eat, you literally help your digestive process speed up. And when you can speed up your digestive process, it has a whole waterfall of benefits and effects to your health and to your well-being. The Italians have been doing it forever. This 10x came from one of my favorite researchers in the field of metabolic health. So we think of metabolism as one system, but we have so much different ways of experiencing metabolic health, and I can't wait to do more on that with you all. But what I can say, if you can just walk for 10 minutes after you eat, that can totally 10x the way you experience movement and exercise, and the results are just phenomenal. So we're going to get into how to 10x the self-care, and self-care is critical to our well-being. We keep talking about it. I want to know, like, what all of you are talking about when you think about self-care. So share some of that with me. What are your self-care methods? But the first one I want to give you is around meditation. So meditation can mean a lot of different things, but there are 2 points that I want you to think about with meditation. Number 1, in the morning, when your cortisol levels are at their highest, if you can meditate for 5 minutes, that could be breathing exercises, it could be focusing on just relaxing your body, it could be a variety of different ways of meditating, but it's for 5 minutes when you first wake up. It will help to get your cortisol levels more balanced for the day, because obviously we know that cortisol wakes us up, but if we can get that more balanced early in the morning through that morning 5-minute meditation, it changes your whole day. So at the end of the day, you're not trying to burn off that excess cortisol. You've been able to use it for what it's good for, and you're not in that state of fight or flight, that sympathetic state that so many of us live in so much of the time that brings us down intensely. So instead, you start your day in a parasympathetic state, which is where we want to be to 10x our health. And that 10x is your self-care. It takes 5 minutes. It's really fast. It's really simple. It's really small. And it's just totally awesome. So I'm really curious right now, how many of you are going to incorporate any one of these 10x's into your life? What are the ones you're doing? And I'm seeing, you know, so many cool points here. Let's see. I like doing the G breath meditation video. That's from Clean Cut Chaos. Thank you. But these yoga, you know, all different types of daily devotions and prayer. Thank you, Patricia. That's beautiful. This is how we give our consciousness and our entire sense of well-being the care that it needs. So I just want to know, you know, what you all are doing and thinking about this week really as this is our week of the heart. This is our month of the heart. These are the sort of things that make all the difference. So that's really the focus on the first area of self-care, and meditation can do that. I want to see Qigong. Yes. Okay, so Penny's telling us she's going to start the twitching. Yeah, I thought you would like that because it's just so easy and so fast. I want to share one more 10X with all of you, and I think you'll be pretty excited about this one. It's about hydration. So how many of you have heard or told us that we need 8 glasses of water in order to be hydrated, right? Like we need to be drinking 8 glasses of water every day. Well, a couple of years ago, I learned through some top researchers that it was much less about the water and it was much more about the number of times that we would urinate a day. So I learned that you have to urinate 6 times a day to be hydrated. And so it didn't matter how much water I was drinking, I wasn't urinating 6 times a day. So I got really fascinated with structuring water. And Dr. Joe Mercola, when I was at his home, he was showing me how he uses the magnets, and there are all these different ways to get structured water. And there wasn't that much science, or I couldn't really find the data until I learned that the best way to hydrate deep within your cells and to really create that tissue healing through hydration would come from green vegetables. So things like celery, things like cucumber are super hydrating. The structured water that you're getting in these areas can go deep within your cells, and it's like a phenomenon, right? It's so powerful. It's so easy. So we've all heard, like, don't eat iceberg. It's a waste of your time. They're empty calories. But did you know that iceberg has all of this structured water? So my only point that I would make around this 10X is make sure that where you're getting your greens from, the water is clean. So, you know, this is important for organics. It makes it even more important to be eating these green organic vegetables. But urinating 6 times a day, deep hydration from greens can transform your energy, your mood, your sleep. And it's just so easy, right? Because we're all drinking water every day. So I thought you would like that one as well. It's pretty cool. Yes, I'm kind of obsessed with this area, and I think we're going to see a lot more coming out around hydration and how much we're able to benefit from it and how difficult it can be at many times. So those are the 10Xs, and those are all within the 5 pillars. I hope that this information was super valuable for you. I hope it made sense. Each and every one of these came from brilliant researchers that basically gave me these gems and shared them with me. And I'm just, you know, honored and delighted to be able to share them with you. And they're the non-negotiables for me. Like, these are the things that I'm doing every single day to give myself the best sort of self-care that I possibly can.
So, Naomi, we've gone over your 5 pillars. The functional foods, and I would say functional foods is probably the number one thing that helped me, is really paying attention to what I eat, not because, you know, that's what is restricted or not, but just really what's going into my body. And I'm so excited to hear about the structured water. That's new to me. I'm really excited that you shared it. And the easy to use nutrients, I've heard resveratrol a lot. And the EGCG, I'm excited to hear about. And then the beauty, that's really important. One of the things that I love most about you is that you are always walking, talking, nurturing that inner beauty, that it does have to come from the inside. And then the exercise, and I bet you I'm not the only one on this call that was really happy to hear that you don't have to overdo it for exercise. I think we avoid it because we think we have to beat ourselves up, you know, that it's going to be really hard. But you really taught what's effective. And then the importance of self-care. And that's been a huge thing that you've taught me. So thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love it. I mean, I'm having so much fun here. I'm reading I'm reading so many of the questions.
I can tell you want me to talk so you can read questions.
No,
So
no,
I get
love
it.
it. I mean, Tim is saying I drink purified water infused with free hydrogen. That's really interesting. I mean, when I was in Japan, I was doing quite a few. I'm just looking at the questions. I was doing quite a few interviews on molecular hydrogen and how often it's used there. And then I see. Let me just see here. So many just great questions. Thank you, Ray, for mentioning Al Foreman. He is my hero, and I love him deeply. This is just an exciting thing, and I learned so much from all of you as well. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time, and I'm very, very, very excited to announce that what we're focusing on now is a program that really takes everything that I did with the Real Skinny on Fat and puts it into a succinct 9-week activity where we get to go deeper, but use the 10Xs and use the focus of all the things that we've talked about tonight and so much more.
So that leads us into our questions. And guys, keep those questions coming in. Like I said, you never know what question is going to get answered. It's happened every time, hasn't it, Naomi? A question will come in and it kind of turns everything over for someone. So we really appreciate that. But I've been involved with you since the beginning of the Real Skinny on Fat. And what we really appreciate about you is you take all of these complexities, because we all feel that way, right? We just watched this whole series and we're kind of overwhelmed. There's all these complexities. And Naomi, your ability to really make them very simple and just say, just do these 3 things is really quite astounding. And the transformations that happen as a result, it's overwhelming. That's just, I get to watch. It's just transformation after transformation after transformation. And I agree with your mom. I don't think you're going to stop until like the whole world is transformed and aware of what's going on. But you are such a nurturer that I'm not surprised that you would take what you have learned and say, here, I've created it for you to be able to figure out what's taken me a year to put together. And so the biggest question we get, you kind of alluded to, and that is, if we take all the questions that come in, number 1 would be some version of, okay, now I know all this stuff, Naomi, now what do I do? Right? So you created this 9-week switch program to help us switch. So what I'm most curious about is why was it important to you to do it?
I would say it was the transformation that I went through personally as I got to interview these experts, right? So originally, the reason I started the Real Skinny on Fat was because I wanted to get to the true answers of why do we have this obesity epidemic in our country? Like, what is really going on? Why is the main topic around our health the fact that, most everybody is struggling with weight issues? And it's not that we're lazy. It's not that we're not compliant. I mean, my goodness, people are following the food guidelines now more than ever. And I just felt that we are going in such the wrong direction. And there has to be the answers within the brilliant minds of the globe that we're living on. And so I wanted to really get to those answers. And that's why I started the Real Skinny on Fat. And I wanted to also give my own mother those answers, because once we moved to the US, my mother started to really put on weight. And what I discovered was, we could do things that would reduce it. We could do different things that would help to detox her system. And my mother is, she means everything to me, and her well-being means everything to me. And this was a whole problem that our family had. One of my brothers is in the room with me now, and I can see him, he feels it too. And we just struggled. And so I wanted to be able to be my mother's hero and really give her the answers. And I also wanted to support our country. Like, we have the most beautiful, wonderful country, and we should be able to thrive. And so this process of learning from all these experts, and instead of doing 20 or 30 interviews like we were going to do, we did over 80, and it just kept going. And it changed my life. It changed your life. It changed, like, everybody that was part of that docu-series, the crew, they all lost weight. They all changed their health. And it was just from listening to these experts. So the biggest question I got was, what do we do with, like, this mountain of information? And that's why we decided to create this program. But also, I really wanted to take this journey because it's an incredible journey. Like, I fell in love with the before and afters, with the results. I'm going to show you. I've got a couple of them here. Thank you so much, Rachel. So I want to show you guys some before and afters. So this first one is, see, can you see that? Hold on, there you go. So this guy is my CFO. That is Bill Stevens. He was busy doing the numbers for the Real Skinny on Fat. I was traveling. I was on the road. I come back and he says to me, Naomi, I'm doing my 5-day water fast. And then I looked around and there were other people in my office, people that I had been trying for years to get them to embrace different health activities. And they were all doing the 5-day water fast. And I couldn't believe it. I'm like, what was it? And they said, you know, it was just learning from these experts. But then they had so many questions. But then Bill got these results. And this is real. And he went off his multitude of different medications. And that's a real thing. And I mean, I'm in love to this day with those results, because every day that I see him, he has more energy, he has more well-being. You know, he suffers from major autoimmune diseases, and the series just transformed his life. But he has access to me every day. He can call up these experts. You know, he really has that access. And so I want to make sure that for all of you that watched it and that got inspired by whatever interview it was, that you're able to, like, really integrate it and bring it into your life. Here's another one. This is Laura. Look at Laura. This is her taking a little selfie. I mean, come on. She's a woman who could never get rid of her weight. She had struggled her whole life, and she's in her 60s here, and this is what she accomplished. So the thing is, this is not a trick. This is not a shortcut. This is just working with our own bodies to do what they naturally want to do. I've got one more that I could show you guys thousands. This is Frances. Check out what she's doing. And so I think in this country right now, we have a revolution going on. And the only thing that's going to stop our revolution is confusion and the media sending out wrong messages or whatever it might be, right? Like I said, this is Heart Health Month. The heart loves fat. In fact, it's its preferred fuel. I've already said that once tonight. I have all the research to support that coming from these top researchers, but that's a surprise. We're not hearing that much yet. And, you know, when we were doing the Dr. Oz show, when Montel and I were sharing the Real Skinny on Fat with the Dr. Oz team, and really getting into what keto does and what fat does in our arteries and the relationship to cholesterol, there were so many questions. But when you look at the research and what's going on, it can be very complicated, because we've been brainwashed to think that fat is bad. So we have a revolution that's going on. And my main goal is that we can condense the information so that we know for ourselves what I'm doing is the right thing, and that we don't get swayed into this wrong thought process.
Yeah, I think the first bucket of questions that we get are, now what do I do? The second bucket of questions we get, Naomi, and this gets rid of most of them actually, is I am on overwhelm. You spent a year, we spent, a couple of weeks, and the information just comes so fast and furious that we're overwhelmed. And so um, you created this program that helps us to just take it in pieces because you've had time to figure it out. We really appreciate that. Lastly, I think the last kind of bucket of questions before we get to the specific ones is the one that really gets to me. It's I'm trying and I can't do it, and it gets to me because I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to go, okay, I'm doing my best, I'm trying, it's not working, I can't do it, I'm all alone. I want to do this by myself. I know what to do, I just can't. And so I know you really, one of the compelling reasons for this was to give us that support and encouragement and nurturing that we need. So why did you think that that kind of community and support, along with accountability, which we don't just need like, oh, you can do it, we need accountability, that's why we can't do it alone. Why did you put that as such an important component in this 9-week switch program you created?
I think that we live in a world right now where we are overwhelmed for sure, and where there are so many cases of a situation really where we don't have enough community and we're alone. And so when you think about the world we're living in right now and the challenges that we have and what it takes to be in a place where we're thriving, it's not so simple as it was, in the past, right? Like we had a much simpler life that we were living. We had maybe more of our family members around us, and now we can wake up in the morning, we can go on our social platforms. Like, we are a community of people, of like-minded people that are learning and growing together, but we all met in the digital world, right? So as human beings, we need that community, we need that connection, we need that encouragement, we need that. And so to me, that's a really, really important part of everything that we do going forward. I know for me that's been transformative, and the data is showing us right now that there is this issue in our country of loneliness, and that's affecting our well-being, that's affecting the way we think, our sense of self. And so I'm a huge believer in us creating this community and then really supporting and nourishing and nurturing one another.
So we don't have to spend the hundreds of thousands of hours that you spent, right? And we can have that support. And I love the feeling of the community. So I want to talk a little bit about what most people. So I've been in this industry, like health and docu-series and working with people, but what a lot of people don't know about me, and I don't know that you knew this about me until recently, but I've worked in the author, speaker, you know, guru in space for a long time, and I'm very familiar with coaching programs, right? I'm very familiar. And what always surprised me was that these people who have very, very amazing things they've learned and to teach, they get to where something works and they offer coaching, which is super helpful. But what astounded me about you is that you are the first one out of a lot that I met that doesn't just give coaching, you actually receive it. And when I I want to share, you don't we were on a phone call and I said, Naomi, I need one story. I need some story in your life about a coach experience, like sports or school or something where a coach had an impact on your life. And you said, I have hundreds. Like I have a coach for everything. I have 9 coaches and I think I need more, you said. And, and I was so blown away because I didn't expect it. And what you've done, you truly believe this, you take it in, it takes you to the next level. And now you take that belief and you give it to us with some coaching and support. You created a program where you call it your 9-week switch, but it's really like, I don't know, like a 9-week, it's 9 weeks with Naomi. Like, you take us through this process. And I know some of the coaches that you use. And if you can get into these people, they're thousands of dollars an hour. And not only are you taking that concept and passing it on to us, you're actually taking what you've learned from them and passing on to us from all these experts and all these coaches. So we're getting years of benefit and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not more, of experience. So why, when you did this, did you not do what everybody else does and just give us a course online?
Well, I don't know what everybody else does. This is something that's new for me. I've spent the past 2 decades really traveling all over the world and discovering and working with indigenous communities, working with, the Nobel Prize winners, learning and growing and sharing. So like, I have been guiding really the nutritional space in new and powerful innovations. I'm always looking to make things a little bit better, but to do it in an easier fashion. So when you asked me the question about coaches, I kind of laughed because I had never, ever talked about it or thought about it really. I just knew that if I wanted to capture the real information, I had to always go to the very best, the number one world's leading expert in that topic. And then if I could spend an hour, 2, 10, 30, 50, in many cases I've spent, 100 plus hours with one coach. If I could spend this time with them, then I could master all of their top insights and incorporate them into my life. And then that would allow me to make more discoveries and go more off the beaten path, right? So for me, working with coaches is a necessity. And that's why I'm just so excited about doing this course. Like I said, it isn't something that I do. I'm doing it because I'm in love with the revolution that we're creating right now. And I believe in the momentum that we've got in this country. Like, I showed you a couple of BNAs, but my goodness, I have hundreds and hundreds. Like, I get photos, I get testimonials, I get little notes of love of what people have achieved. I mean, I'm looking at them right now and it melts my heart. It just makes me feel so good and so happy, because what we're doing is we're working with our own bodies to really do what we are innately able to do. And it's not that complicated, but the coaches allow us to not have to go through the, those areas that are difficult to try to figure out to get to the answers. And when I say I'm going to take you off the beaten path, that's exactly what I mean. But I'm going to do it where we've got these remarkable and brilliant guides that have really guided me over my life. And I love it so much because I think that this program that we've built is really for anyone that is looking to transform their life. And it could be for someone, who may have over 50 pounds of weight to lose. And that's just fine. That's what can happen. I don't think so, my dear. Or it could be that person who has those 10 pounds that they just want to get off because it's still weighing them down, or that weight has, so much inflammation. Or it could be someone that's been yo-yoing and going back and forth, and you're like, I've had it. That's not the real answer. And it could be for those of you who didn't need to lose weight, but you're tired. You feel fatigued, right? Like, that's a really big thing. How many of us are pushing ourselves outside of what our body should be doing because we're so fatigued? And all that needs to happen is your mitochondria needs to be strengthened so that you have that engine of energy in your body. But getting there is, overwhelming. Well, like, those are the individuals that I want to support, because the work that you're doing in the world is so important, and you've got to have the mitochondrial energy. You can't be in that place of fatigue. And I can tell you, from having autoimmune disorders, I've suffered from that. It's for people who just like need that youthful energy and that glow that comes through activating the autophagy in our body, and really feeling what it is to not have to be thinking about, can I go out for this walk? Do I have the energy to, play with my kids or my grandkids? Whatever it may be, like, these are the individuals that I'm so excited about, really learning from this course. It's the people like me who have autoimmune disorders or people who have different health conditions, right? Tim G says, yes, lost 20 pounds, but you're still feeling fatigued. I get that, Tim, because a lot of times what happens is you can lose that weight, but you've still got that toxicity, or your cells don't know how to behave now that they've lost that weight. You've got to get the rest of that toxic fat that's accumulated or that's built up out of your body. And so there's so many different ways to sort of go about this. It's understanding the different metabolisms that we have in our body and how they work, and how you can go from being a sugar burner into a body fat burner. I did a 5-day water fast. I think, when was it, Nan? Was it last week? Yes. I did a 5-day water fast like a week ago. I feel amazing, and I can't wait to do my next one, right? But a water fast, while of course I wanted to eat because I missed the social aspect of it, and my tummy grumbled some of the time, it was wonderful. And every time you do a 5-day water fast, it's a total reset, right? And it's free. And you get to explore another part of your well-being and your consciousness. And I do intermittent fasting, on and off every other day. And sometimes I'll do it several days in a row, and sometimes I'll do a 1-day fast. But eating or not eating, using glucose or using fat as fuel, I'm able to go in between, and I'm metabolically flexible because of my learnings from all of these genius experts. So for the individual that just wants that like extra 5 or 10% in their life, and that has tried so many things, this is really what I want to share with you.
That's amazing. So for those of us listening, now is the time to make sure you have pen to paper. You're going to be wanting to write some stuff down, because this is pretty awesome. So you talked about these 5 pillars tonight, Naomi, and I know your course, you put in 5 modules to guide us through, right? So we're going through things in the right order. And you just answered that question about the importance of detoxing. So take us through the 5 modules. And I know it starts with prep and detox. So walk us through these 5 and let's write them down.
Okay, so number 1 is always about prep and detox. So many of you have detoxed, many of you know what it's like, some of you haven't, but I have a very specific way that I want you to prep and then start the detox process. And for those of you that saw Chris Shade, Dr. Chris Shade speak, I did a whole little mastermind with about 6 or 7 of the top detox experts that helped me to build this module for all of us. So that's what we really want to do with this important part. And then once you get your body able to detox, and there are all these different detox pathways, it really gives you that 10x effect. So it's like when you're ingesting your functional food, or when you're taking those nutrients, the way your body can utilize and absorb them is completely different. And I think the same way about ketones, right? When you're able to produce the right amount of ketones, it's wonderful, but it's even more wonderful when you're able to utilize and benefit from the ketones that you have. And detoxing and really, like recalibrating makes all that difference.
Great. And so what's the second module?
So when we get into the second module, what I got really excited about is teaching many of you how to become a fat burner. So I can't tell you how challenged so many people are around this area. So people that have been in the health and wellness space for such a long time, struggle to become a fat burner. In fact, I was on the phone with a girlfriend of mine 2 days ago, and she was saying to me, you know, I love keto. I just can't get my ketones up. But that's because she's not doing keto and she's not burning fat for fuel. And that's why her ketones are not up. So truly learning how to be a fat burner. And by the way, it's not hard, but it's a completely different state. You know that you're burning fat when you have more energy than you know what to do with, when you're like, how did I get to be the smartest person in the room? Which is because your brain, when you're burning ketones for fuel, your brain can be working 25% better than it would when you're burning glucose. So that's why, like, I've been in the room where people say to me, and I'm in ketosis right now, Naomi, what's going on? Did you drink like 5 cups of coffee? No, it's the ketones. But being a fat burner can really do that for you. And you know when your body is just effortless in its energy, its sense of well-being, you feel like the superhero version of yourself, that's when you're burning fat.
I can absolutely attest to that. 100%. Like, yeah, you're just a different person. You don't get the sluggishness. You don't like have to stop yourself, like that brain fog, and just sort of feeling like you're, under mud a little bit. I think we all know what that means, but you're right. You do seem like you've been drinking a bunch of coffee, but I know you haven't. So now you talked a little bit. So now we've talked about being a fat burner, which requires being into ketosis. So module 3 is all about going keto. And some people think they don't want to do keto. So talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so it's very, very interesting. I'm seeing all sorts of different notes here. Things like my family thinks I'm crazy for eating fat, and there's a lot of peer pressure right now around keto. And the reason there is so much is it defies sort of all of the sensibility that we've attached ourselves to over these years. But if we're totally honest with ourselves and we just look at the numbers, it doesn't work, right? So when I first learned about the ketogenic diet, it was many, many years ago, and I had my translator that I work with this indigenous group off the coast of Panama, the Kuna, and I had my translator, Roque, who I'd worked with for many years. He was 42 years old, and he and his wife had come to live with me because he had stage 4 stomach cancer, and he couldn't get the medical care that we needed him to get while he was in Panama. So he came over to the US, and my beautiful family embraced them, and they lived with us. And Dr. Joseph Maroon, who was on the first segment of our docu-series, started teaching me about keto. And so Roque ate a ketogenic diet, and we were testing his ketones. And we know from, Thomas Seyfried, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, who is truly a warrior and a brilliant leader in the field of cancer being a metabolic disease and not a genetic disease. Thomas Seyfried, was really sharing this information. And so I learned about it many, many years ago. And then my now 7-year-old son, when he started to develop seizures, he went into the ketogenic life way before anyone else in my household did. And what's fascinating is, as I mentioned, he's 7 years old, little Christian. I put him on my Instagram sometimes. And he eats a ketogenic life and a ketogenic diet, and he thrives. When he wants energy, he goes for his olives. He loves ketogenic foods, and he always has, and he always will. And so I was able to see these two individuals transform their health through the ketogenic diet. Now, Roque didn't, he has passed away now, but it really changed the length of time and the quality of his life. And so when I got into keto, and when so many of you did, we created a movement. Like, we are in a movement right now, but we are fighting what's going on out there. And I know what will happen. I bet you all anything that within the next 2 years, there's going to be some part of the food industry that's going to, just say, okay, this has gotten out of control. You see it with coconut oil every, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years. Once the coconut oil goes too high and the vegetable, the canolas and things like that go too low, then some negative press comes out. Like, remember what happened? What was it, Nan?
It's like 6 months ago.
6 months ago, that German professor, I mean, we translated her whole talk. There was no science in it, but it was like wildfire. And guess what? It reduced the consumption of coconut oil. It got all of us thinking, wait, am I right? Am I wrong? And that's all it takes. So I think for us with keto, it's going to take some time. And Emily, you're right. Ansel Keys, it goes back to the mid 50s. And that's why I was so moved by the information that people like Nina Teicholz, I mean, she is a genius, brilliant woman. The Big Fat Lie is her book, but she is a warrior. And so for me, having the opportunity to connect and spend time with these individuals on a one-on-one basis, I can understand keto in such a deep way, right? So for all the hours that we put on screen, we had like 3 or 4 more hours
or 5 or 6
times with these individuals. So grasping keto and the nuances of it, and then feeling empowered enough to stay on that journey, it's not an easy task. And that's why we devoted a whole module to it.
Yeah, something that I'll share is that people say, I don't think I could do that. Like, you eat all that fat. But as you know, I've been doing this, right? And what I found is you become the fat burner, you go into keto. And this is about the time, guys, in the program when people start grabbing you and going, you look amazing. What are you doing? Like, you're just different. And, or you like, I'd get a text, saw you look skinny, right? And my very favorite was I went to a family event and there was a nephew there in his 20s that I hadn't seen for a couple of years. And he walked up and he said, Auntie, you look skinny. I mean, young. You look young. And I thought that was really awesome. But one thing with this press and everything, proof, is my blood levels are better than they ever have been. And my doctor said, I would kill to have your HDL. Like, how do you do that? And I said, I eat bacon, I eat avocados, I eat tons of butter, grass-fed butter, I eat coconut oil. And he just was like, what? So, I mean, the proof is in how you feel, and we'll just have to band together and keep it going. So we move from that keto into that. You mentioned you love doing intermittent fasting. So that's the next module 4, intermittent fasting.
And I think that fasting in and of itself is such a powerful concept. I've been fasting for 25 years. It's my number one tool to reduce inflammation in my body. And so I've had exposure really for the past decade to some of the top researchers in the field of fasting. So I got into intermittent fasting about 10 years ago. Before that, I was doing juice fasting. I was doing 1-day water fasts. I was doing all sorts of like variations, but I understood the power of intermittent fasting 10 years ago and then really started to do that. So I think for so many of us, there are a lot of questions. Like, there were questions about, does collagen take you out of a fast? Does MCT take you out of a fast? Like, what breaks a fast? And what is a water fast? And what types of water? And can I drink coffee and so there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions. And because fasting is such a big topic, it's one of the top searched health terms right now. And out of the docu-series, the segment where we did the whole segment on fasting, there was so much different information within that segment. And there were even, I interviewed some people that have products around fasting that would sort of be poo-pooing the water fast. And it was just a very dynamic segment. And so we feel that it's extremely important to really focus on getting all of those questions answered, because fasting is such a powerful tool, and 2 hours can make a world of difference. Like from 16 hours to 18 hours, that can be a 10x. But you have to know how to do it correctly. You have to know how to prepare for the fast. You have to know what to do when your digestive system is not working. You know, how do you detox during the days that you're fasting? And I just did a 5-day water fast, as I mentioned, and I journaled it a little bit, but I just gave like the tip of the iceberg for the people that were watching the journal, because so much of it wasn't appropriate to share sort of in that larger format. But within the module, we go really deep and we get all of the questions answered.
So what I love, and I want to just clarify, there are some people on with us that didn't necessarily get to see the whole skinny on fat. So intermittent fasting is when you go a certain number of hours without eating anything, you're only drinking water. And then you have a window where you eat. And what you mentioned is so critical. I really want to put like a asterisk on it, is the change from fasting 16 hours and having an 8-hour eating window to fasting 18 hours and having a 6-hour eating window. Those 2 hours are a 10x difference. And in that module, I know you you tell us exactly what to do, exactly what to expect. And what's interesting is I find my days, Naomi, that I intermittent fast are far easier than the days where I don't. I feel better. I have more energy. It just works better. And then your 5th module, which you are my hero for. You're my hero for a lot of things, but this is where you won my heart. And that is it's movement. And when you said maximum is not always optimum, you're not a fan of overdoing it, but just doing what works and what works effectively, and then that's all you have to do. Thank you. So talk to us about the movement module.
It's not me. It's again the brilliant researchers. Yesterday, I was at my I have a home that I just bought in Gainesville, Florida. So very connected with the University of Florida, which is a Tier 1 university, and ecstatic about the research that's coming out of there. But I had a number of my girlfriends over, and many of them are in the field. Many of them are PhDs, and they're in the field of incredible research around movement. And it's a time right now. That's why, you know, I was so thrilled to talk a little bit about twitching, but exercise, it can be in many different ways. And as we understand our sympathetic and parasympathetic, our nervous system, and what it is to balance our hormones, and how each of these modules builds on itself. So like there's a building process. When we get to the module on movement, so much of what we've done internally is giving us the benefit for movement. So when you're on keto, you know, you may not be like a lot of people exercise to lose weight, but we know, I mean, there's a saying, you build your abs in the kitchen. Well, when I look at my abs, I'm like, how did I build those again? Because I don't do sit-ups. I don't do any of the abs, but I you know, you can see my abs. And it's really from those steps, those different modules. So I like to outsmart sort of the exercise process with super smart researchers. And that's why, you know, like even a beauty bath is like hugely beneficial from a movement perspective. And I'll tell you guys all about that at another time. But there are all these weird little things that we can do that I consider to be like quick switches. And my girlfriends that are PhDs in exercise physiology, exercise psychology, all these areas, I drive them nuts because I'm always on them, like on a weekly basis. I've got like these 8 girls that are all these genius girls, and I'm on them constantly for the newest research, because I know that we don't have to be in the gym working super hard all the time. And for a lot of people who may have, you know, different issues in their health, it can take time to do different things. And I've definitely experienced over exercise and the negative effects that can have. So this module is a critical key component.
One of the things you mentioned to me that really got me was over-exercise actually ages you faster. That really got my attention. You want to do what creates youth and energy, and your body feels younger, right? So what I found is kind of, for those of us that are going through the process and joining us on the program, is that by now you're starting to do the movement. All of my inflammation was gone. Like all those aches and pains, like, oh, this hip hurts in the morning, or I can't move the shoulder, those were gone. I lift, reach, bend, walk more easily and effortlessly, and your body just feels better. So you're doing a bonus module, which I'm so excited to talk about because
You
a year ago, and I had people around me doing it, right? But every single, like without exception, Naomi, every single person that I told I was doing it was like, oh, I could never do that. That's what everybody says. And it was one of the easiest things I'd ever done. And two of the best days I had last year were day 4 and 5 of my first water fast. I ended up doing 3 through the year. But I want to hear some stories. I bet some people are posting stories. What are the biggest things that you find people used to resist doing that 5-day water fast?
Well, it's scary for a lot of folks. And when I first started hearing about the water fast, for five days, and of course, it's been going on for centuries. But really, the way that people are approaching the 5-day water fast now is fresh, and there's science around it, and there's tons of experts around it, and then there are lots of different ways to go about doing it and different areas of focus. I mean, I get really excited about it, but I think that most people, without fully understanding like what's going on within their biology, will say, no, I can't do that. But you don't know, and you don't know. And you don't know what the benefits or the challenges might be, and you don't know how your body's going to react. And each time I've done a 5-day water fast, I have different reactions. I love this bonus module because it's like when, Tony Robbins taught us how to walk on hot coals. It was a mindset, right? And then you walk on these hot coals and like, this is so easy, so natural, so much part of our biology. I just wanted to make it a bonus and to do it with all of you so that if you wanted to try it, this is how we would do it, and you can always work with your doctor. Like Bill Stevens, my CFO, where I showed you that great before and after, he went to his doctor before he did his 5-day water fast. And you have to know this guy was on over 10 medications at the time and asked his doctor, can I do this? And his doctor went through all of his blood work and everything. And he was like, absolutely. And it has been the greatest tool to transforming his well-being. So I just think, it's a bonus module. You can do it or not. But let me tell you, this is where I can hold your hand and really take you to a place with the help of whomever makes sense for you to have that help. And I just think it's so wonderful because once you've done it, then you sort of go into this new place in your life.
And I can attest to that. So we don't have time to talk about everything you've put together for us. For this program, you've done hours and hours in videos and stacks of recipes, which, by the way, are amazing. And there's this online resource. And in these 9 weeks, we have live calls with your coaches. Your handpicked guys. These are Naomi's handpicked, personally trained team. They are normally hundreds of dollars an hour to work with. Tell us a little bit about your coaching staff. I know you'll go on for hours, so give us the short version.
Of my coaching staff?
Of the team that we'll be working with.
So I love my coaching team. I believe that we have some of the most compassionate, intelligent, thoughtful individuals that have been doing coaching for a long period of time. So you spoke a little bit about how much I love to use coaching as a tool in my own life. And yes, that is totally true. But I really like to have coaching in your life, in everyone's life. And that's what my coaching team is all about. These are individuals that love to coach. They are fully in tune with everything that we do. Like, we are an integrated team, and they are the ones that can really take you from here to that next place using the modules, which is why, I just felt like we've got to get the coaches in here, and we get such powerful results because of them. So I think a lot of the coaches are on the line, and I love it, and I love you guys so much. I mean, Lizzie Swick is my personal hero, and I just love the authenticity that comes from the coaches that we work with, and the sensitivity, understanding that it's not a one size fits all. Like, keto can be experienced in 40 different ways, right? Like, what works best for me, the amount of fiber that I might need, the amount of carbohydrates that I can take in, when and what types of good fats are going to make my body work the best could be totally different than what works for you, Kat. And so having that opportunity to make those small tweaks with a coach who has these kind of expertise can make all that 10x difference.
Yeah, and for those of us on watching these Facebook answers and YouTube answers fly, you can't help but see how amazing this team is. So a lot of people are asking, Naomi, how they can engage more with you in this program, and I understand that you're doing something you don't normally do, and that is you're going to be engaging with us personally in this 9-week switch that we're going to do together.
That's right. I'm excited about it. I've been counting the days down for it. Like I said, I went into a little bit of a sad place. I was missing everybody and the positive engagement. I mean, I'm looking at the chats, and I'm looking at how you are supporting each other. And that's everything, right? Like, that's what we do in a community. We are here for one another, and you're doing it naturally. You're having these beautiful conversations, and that's what it's all about. So I think that, so many of us are nurturers. I know I certainly am. And I'm a deep advocate for the self-care. And I really want to take this journey with you. I want to guide you on this journey. I want to leverage all the expertise of all the brilliant researchers that we have around us. And I just want us to experience the success and the joy, because it's a complicated world we're living in right now. And there are these hidden gems in all different areas of our lives that we can embrace and that we can grab onto. But it takes that community.
And you're also very, very good at helping us stay accountable to get what we really want. Like that I've really, not just here's the information, but that accountability so that I do finally get to my goal. So when we were talking this through and you were talking about this program, you decided to give us a bonus. Like, we're already, just what we've talked about right now, I know in my own life I've paid $5,000 to $10,000 to just participate, and it didn't work nearly as well as what you're offering here. But as a bonus, you're going to get us started on your favorite supplements. And I love to hear you talk about these because I know they're very close to your heart. So walk us through this starting supplement kit that you've added.
So it's all about those 5 pillars, right? So you're going to be able to embrace the functional foods that will give you the extra benefit. I was reading, Patricia was saying food addiction. You love and enjoy food, and you need to change the thought process of health being more joyful. I get that, and I think a lot of people really get that, right? Keto can be boring. Like, if you're used to that dopamine and you're addicted to sugar, like I've been, for so many years, you can get kind of bored. And so understanding like what functional foods, when to eat them, we have recipes that incorporate like the most delicious treat that you can imagine, because I want to keep that joy up. But I also know how important it is to really flood our body with nutrients. And we need different nutrients at different times. So what I did is I put together some of my favorites. So we have our bone broth boost, which is an awesome grass-fed bone broth, and it's so delicious. I've incorporated my autophagy activating tea, which I think is just such a jump start to really benefiting. I've got my Bio-Alaskan Omegas. So I went to Alaska and sourced the flash frozen Omegas, and some of the world's top experts on omega research are really showing us like what those additional benefits are to getting these sort of things. So these are a couple of my favorites.
So I've been consuming your products, and I've been on your website.
And there are more supplements in there. These are just a couple.
Yeah, there's a collection of 7 or 8. Like it's like a big package. And I've been on your site, and I know this is over $350 worth of supplements that you said I want to, like everyone to start correctly. So I can't believe you're adding that as a book. Like, and these are full size. Like, this isn't samples. You're like giving us this amazing package. And the other thing that we were talking about is, you just said everyone's different. Everyone has different needs, and so you've got your team available for these nutrition consultation, this bonus call that you're calling a nutritional accelerator call. But just for the first 500 people that come on the program as a bonus for, taking that step. We all know we want it. We all know we need to do it, to take that step of moving forward. And this is a one-on-one call. Like, this is a one-on-one, get you started off on the right foot, find out where you're really coming from. Talk to us a little bit about why you did that and what we can expect on that call.
Yes. So I wanted for all of you that are joining me tonight to just have that opportunity to get that acceleration. And that's why we thought, what could we do that would be really fun and really, that whole next level. And so we thought out of the box, and we said, hey, we're going to do this accelerator call that will get you before the 9-week switch begins. It will get you into that right place with the customized support that can make a huge difference. I've had coaches where I spend half an hour with them, and they can change my entire year from that 30 minutes. So we really wanted to sort of accelerate and give it that next level.
I love it. The same thing. I've had a half an hour like that changed my whole life. So, that's a hugely valuable. And then one of the things that's been most amazing to me, for those of us watching tonight, there are people out there, they have these live Facebook groups, and they're just like kind of dead. You guys, with us watching you can't expect that. Naomi and her team are just like on it. And so for this program, as we go through it together, we're going to have a private Facebook social media group. But what's amazing to me, Naomi, is you and your team were talking about doing what you call office hours. So we're not just on Facebook talking to each other, hoping to get like a crumb here and there. During office hours, we can go on and talk about what's going on with us, ask whatever question we have to ask. And you've got your staff, your team, and you sometimes there to answer our questions. That's huge. That's a program right there.
Look, for me, it's about each and every one of the members that are, and thank you, for those of you that are joining our community right now. It's really exciting. I can't wait to be on this 9-week switch with you. But it's about being able to do what we haven't been able to do in the past, right? So maybe you have a cabinet filled with a whole bunch of nutritional supplements that have expired, or that you bought because you were trying to improve your health, and now you don't remember why you got them, and you've wasted a lot of money. Or maybe you've spent countless days and weeks and going to different doctors and trying to find the answers. And being in a community with other individuals that may have been on a similar journey, going through these different modules will give you that answer. My goal is that within 9 weeks, we can have the success that we couldn't have before. that it sort of like warps time and transforms our well-being. And I know from so many of you, like so many of you are coaches, so many of you are individuals that are juggling a lot, and you've got so much on your shoulders. This is an opportunity to sort of condense a whole bunch of information into a format that's really there to make the difference.
So, really quick, I'm so excited. We have so many people joining us for the 9-week switch already, Naomi. Lee Hay, and I want to really welcome Pua Medeiros. You guys, I'm so excited. You're getting your nutritional accelerator call, and welcome to our group. That's so awesome. So, Naomi, we were talking the other day, and you were talking about the importance to you of visualizing success and then taking action, and the difference between people who visualize success and take action and don't. Remind me some of the thoughts that you had about that.
Well, I think everything starts with what we see in our mind and what we visualize, and what it is that we want. I was in New York last week, and I was with Martha Stewart. So Martha Stewart is in her, I think, her early 70s. And she said to me, you know, Naomi, the reason my skin is still so vibrant and my hair is so shiny is because I drink my green juice, where I go into my garden and I get, you know, these different herbs. And she was talking to me about how much she loves mint, and we were talking about cilantro. But what I loved about that conversation was she had visualized this life of creating, you know, a more cozy, more beautiful home, her own health and her own look being beautiful into her 70s, her energy and all those things. And that's what she was really experiencing. So her sense of the way she looked was so remarkable. And I just think for all of us, we have to be able to see it in order to actualize it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So so people can kind of get a visual, you've got these modules, you've got workbooks, you've got cookbooks, you've got an online resource center, you have tons of videos from Naomi every little step of the way. You've got these live calls, you've got the Facebook group. So what have you, I know each of this program, because I've come from this space, is a $5,000 to $10,000 program, but what have you put together for us, Naomi, for this 9-week switch?
I just want to put all of it together into a format where it's simple, but it really takes us to that next place. So, you know, we've got it all. It's really there, and you can see the whole collection of you know, from the supplements to the workbooks that we've put together, to the community that you get, to really the guidance. I mean, we have a lot of the top experts from the Real Skinny that engage with us, and the goal is to really make that switch, right? So a switch can be as simple as just turning a switch on, and that's why we feel so powerful about this concept of switching. Resveratrol switches on the SIRT1 gene, right? So as we get older, that gene turns off, but you take resveratrol and it literally lights it up. Autophagy switches on the natural cleansing detox process within our body. So that's what the 9-week switch is really about. And I want you to have all the tools in front of you, and I want to take this journey with you. And, you know, this is the time when we're doing it. And I can't wait to go down that path. I mean, we've done this once before, and it was the most thrilling experience because of all of the results that people got, the connection, like it's life-changing, the before and afters. I mean, some of the people we have in here, Nan, come over here. You have to, just for a second. So Nan did a lot of, come on in, did a lot of, this is Nan. So Nan did a lot of the testimonials, interviews from some of the people from last time. And just tell us.
Well, it's one of the highlights of my job here is I get to hear all the amazing success stories that people have on the program, and really just life-changing. And that's what they say, life-changing benefits and transformation. And it's not even about weight. You know, I know a lot of people focus on that in life in general, and that's, you know, the way we are programmed. But most of them, that was secondary. That was a bonus, right? It was how they felt. It was the energy. It was, oh my gosh, I didn't know that I could feel this way again. Truly remarkable. So.
Yeah, I remember some of the days you got teary-eyed.
Oh, I
right?
loved it.
You loved it.
It's amazing. Best part of my job.
So yeah, so you know, this is what it's about. This is what we get to experience when we work with our own bodies, and we get to have the kind of expertise and the coaches that have, you know, spent their lives dedicated to these particular areas.
Well, I'm so excited because I know that you've put together the most amazing, like this amazing program. And for those of us who decide to move forward tonight, you're doing it for only $1,497, right? For everything.
Right. Yes. And our goal was to really, you know, figure out how we could 10x it. So I know that you all had put together a certain special, and maybe you want to talk a little bit about that, Kat.
Yeah. So we decided that we were going to do an early bird discount, an early bird special for those of us who, just to help us take that extra jump into it. So for those of you who are on the webinar tonight, the webinar special is just $1,297. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, Carl, over the number of years that I spent just $50 a month or just $100 a month and continued to do it on stuff I didn't need or stuff I didn't use and stuff that didn't work, you know, it adds up. And what's so exciting to me is now I don't have to ever buy another supplement again that I don't need or that doesn't work. I spend, Naomi, I spend less, like I'm eating really high quality food because you taught me about functional foods. But I spend less on food, I spend less on supplements, and I spend less on skincare because I know how this works, right? So I sit here and I wonder, like, if all this did was get you to your goal weight, like, isn't that worth it? And if all it did was bring the energy back so that you could live the life that you really wanted, what is that really worth, right? And really quickly, I want to welcome Janice Simmons. We're just like, these are coming in. I'm sorry if I missed you. And Jean Takis and Margaret Bunk. Gall, you guys, welcome. This is so exciting. So, like I said, what's exciting to me is I know I never have to waste that kind of money again on another program. Or like that thing, you know, that thing we're always looking for. Like we feel like we've tried everything, and it's this mix between like I give up. Like on one side, it's like I give up, I'm not doing it again. And on the other side, it's like I'm looking for that next thing, right? We kind of still hope. And I'm able to leave that, you know, all behind now. So I know that just in the market out there, Naomi, the program you've put together, because I work with a lot of the people that you work with, they would put a $5,000 price tag on this. Why did you decide to make it so affordable for us? In fact, I think you even put payment plans on there. So for those of you who feel like this, you want to find out more, you ready to go, there's a button you can click. If you're on YouTube, there's a post they're going to put up. And by the way, don't go anywhere. We're going to get to questions. But I want to know why you made it so easy for us.
Well, I think, you know, it depends on the individual. This program, this 9-week switch, is really this massive combination of all of this insight. And I wanted the program to have the kind of impact that would transform your life, that would give you that opportunity to be within this revolution that we're in right now, and move forward with confidence and know that what you're doing is right because it's been validated by all of these experts. And I wanted to guide you on that journey. And so that's why we put this program together. I mean, that is the reason behind it. And I'm so excited to take this journey with so many of you. And we just want to make it as possible for as many people as it makes sense for. And that's the thought process. You know, it's like, it's just about sharing and growing and benefiting and taking our lives to that next level.
Well, there's no amount of money that would have been too much knowing what I know now. What's it worth to have your whole life transform, right? So really quick, before we move to Q&A, I want to welcome Ira Cargill and Allison Delaney to the group. We really are excited to have you with us. So one of the questions that keeps floating to the surface, Naomi, is about people saying they've heard ketosis is dangerous and the difference between ketoacidosis and ketosis, because they think keto is dangerous.
Oh, I know. And we're going to keep hearing that for some time. So there are lots of experts out there who feel that, you know, it can't be good for you. It's not possible. But when you look at the research and you speak to the researchers and you really go into the data, it will just continue to blow your mind. So our bodies like to use fat as fuel. We have to be aware of what types of fat. And keto is a customized experience. Like the way it works for me can be different than the way it works for you. But as I mentioned, you know, my 7-year-old is keto. And I'm an adventurer. I will try most any nutritional thing that's out there, but I have to know where it's coming from because I've had real challenges by not when I was younger. So once I know where things come from, then I can find out who the top researcher is in that field, spend time with that researcher, spend time going through their research. And then by the time I'm sharing it with my community, the level of confidence is very high. You know, I brought resveratrol in a meaningful way into the marketplace a decade ago, but that was only after an entire year spent with all of the top researchers around the world. There wasn't as much science as there is now. Now there's thousands and thousands and thousands of studies, but it was important at that time to be able to get that out into the hands of the consumer. And what I found when I first learned about resveratrol was that everything that was out in the market was just called resveratrol, but all of the clinical research was around trans resveratrol. So then I had to understand what's trans resveratrol, what's cis resveratrol, and I learned that the only type we should be taking in is trans resveratrol. So people were spending all this money on this wonderful molecule, but they were getting the wrong kind and getting no benefits. So it's so key to understand what is good information and what is bad information, and have a place that you can confidently learn that information from.
So thank you. Yeah, I think, you know, it's hard for me to answer that because I just feel so much better. It's like, how could that be bad for you? Oh my gosh, there's so many people coming in. I'm sorry, I can't keep track. We have Carla. Oh, I hate when it's Carla B and Sherry Young. And thank you. Welcome to the program. But I can't keep up with all the questions. So Julie Carlson is asking us, is there a best time of day to take your MCT?
That's a great question. Thank you so much for asking. And I'm so excited for our 9-week switch community that's growing right now. Like we are going to have an amazing time together. I'm really thrilled. There is a good time to take MCT, and it just depends on, you know, really what your key goal is. So if you take it in the morning, you know that you're producing more ketones because you've been fasting. So I typically will take MCT in the morning. I'll take the tablespoon in the morning, or I'll be getting the MCTs early in the day so that the ketones that I already have, I'm able to help absorb those more, and I'm also able to help my body produce more. So it's like using the momentum.
Okay, thank you.
But I would just add one more thing. You also want to be able to take them like if you feel there's a time in the day where you need more energy, they're your number one energy source.
It's a mid-afternoon go-to for me, for sure. For morning, because I feel like I start out with energy, but that's a really good afternoon slump alternative I've found. And that's what's beautiful, Naomi, about this 9-week switch program you did, is for each of us, we're able to go through our lives and know these answers for ourselves of all the questions, right? Because we're not going to get to them all tonight. So Donna Cardenas is asking, her cholesterol, she says, went through the roof after she did keto for a few weeks. She's wondering if she did something wrong.
I don't think something was wrong. Can you repeat the first part of the question?
Yeah, she said her cholesterol went through the roof after being on keto for a few weeks.
So I think if that happens, and I have heard that happen, and we have a very interesting interview that actually you did with Dr. Kate Shanahan,
Yep.
cholesterol,
Yep.
and that's one to definitely listen to. There can be so many different reasons that that's happening with cholesterol, and really, that's something that you should speak to your doctor about, but speak to a doctor like Dr. Kate Shanahan or Dr. Tony Bark, or like a doctor that understands and lives the keto life and can understand the relationship to cholesterol.
Yep, that
There's
interview.
a lot of really good data there, a ton of really good data.
Amazing. Like that interview with Dr. Kate, she gave me 15 minutes. How long were we? We were like an hour and 15 minutes, right? And what happened was I had my list of questions from you, and all of the rest of it was like, really? Okay, well, what about this? Like it was amazing, and I learned so much. If you're watching this and you haven't seen that, make sure you do. So Mary Jo John is asking, how long did you say we should do the twitching exercises? How long? How often?
That's great. So I think once an hour, you should be doing twitching for about a minute. Now, in the 9-week switch, we have a whole section within our exercise module on twitching. Dr. Heather Hausenblas has done a lot of research in the area. And as I mentioned, we've got a number of different experts that really guide us, because there are different ways to twitch, and there are a variety of different benefits that we get from twitching, from hydration to, our muscles love to be vibrated. Like they literally love that vibration. So there's a lot of different ways to get that vibration going within our muscles.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I noticed that for me it was a little different, and we all have different lifestyles too. Some of us move around all day. I have a goal. You and I actually set a goal for me to like get up from my desk and walk and do stairs or something. And sometimes I can't, and so those have been life-saving for me. And what's so funny is, like, as a child, you'd like bounce your leg or like, and you're always told to stop. And now I'm being told to start. So it's really awesome. So Patricia Taderick is asking, she would like to learn more about adrenals. Oh, me too, Patricia. I had no adrenals. I don't know what you're talking about. And fasting, the body is already in stress mode. Will fasting help or hinder?
And that's a great question. And that's a question that we ask a lot of the researchers that are experts in fasting. And what we discovered was that depending on how your detox systems are working will affect the way fasting is able to impact your body. So that's why it's module 1, really the detox and the reset is so critical. And once you're in a parasympathetic state versus a sympathetic state, like if you're in that fight or flight and your cortisol is high and you're creating adrenal fatigue, then you're not able to like get into the same benefits of being parasympathetic, which then allows you to detox. Like you cannot detox when you're in fight or flight. Your body can't do that. So they're all sort of interrelated, but really in module 1, we get into a lot of that discussion.
Yeah, that prep and detox was huge for me. I think that was a huge piece of what I was missing all of my life, right? It's like you cook dinner every day and you put trash in the trash bin and you take it out and it works. But if you stopped doing it for a couple of weeks, you'd have a toxic environment, and just putting good stuff in is not going to fix it, right? So that really helped me, Patricia. Cheryl Hyde is asking, it's a 2-part question. one, do you put essential oils in your water? And two, does that break your fast?
Oh, this is a great question. So,
Thanks, Cheryl.
I grew up in England, and so essential oils are definitely part of what it's ingested. There are a lot of essential oils that go into different teas, and I believe in doing that. I don't know, Patricia, that I could speak to the data on it, but give us a moment, and let us pull some research on that. And Nan, if we can, we'll get that question answered for you tomorrow.
Naomi, this is what we love about you. I have to tell you, for those of us who are on your programs, there's not a question we ask that you don't find out. You always have an expert. You always have a place to go. It's delightful. It's really amazing. So
we for sure we know that essential oils can benefit our health. For sure we know that when we consume essential oils, we're not creating any digestion, so they're not breaking the fast. But like even with lemon, for example, if you use lemon in your water when you're fasting, you have to have a certain amount, a very low level, because lemon obviously has sugar, and that can start the digestive process. So with an essential oil, that's not the concern. But I'm sure that there's some interesting data about the benefits of it within our water.
Yeah, I'm excited to find out. So Bethany Johns is asking about magnesium, Naomi, because you talked about it. What is the best way to get it into your diet via food?
Oh, such a good question. I think it's because so many of us are not getting enough magnesium in our diets. This is an area where I really believe in the oils that you can put on your skin because they absorb so effectively. The Epsom salt baths are so powerful. The different forms of magnesium that you take as a supplement. I mean, yes, you can get it. You get it from a lot of different foods, but at the end of the day, there's just too much of a deficiency in my mind for me to not take it in these different supplemental forms.
Yeah, I agree. And the baths are wonderful. So, oh my gosh, we have this whole string of people. We don't have time. This whole string of people. Sharon Glenwinkle and Pat Lyle, welcome to the 9-week switch. Ollie Facer is asking, will celery juice in the morning take me out of ketosis?
That is a good question, and it's different for each and every person. So what I would recommend you do if you're going to drink your celery juice in the morning is, I don't know if you have a keto, like a Keto Mojo or a ketogenic meter, but test your ketone levels before you drink your celery juice, and then test them after you drink your celery juice, and then you're going to get that answer. But it's individual. Like I know people that can drink celery juice and they're just fine, and others that can't.
So how long after consuming do you do your Keto Mojo?
You can do it within, people do it very quickly, within half an hour, within an hour, pretty quick.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Then again, that was one of the things I really appreciated about the program, was really understanding how my body worked with it. Gail Hewitt is asking, is alkaline water important?
That's a great question. There's not that much data on it. Hydration, we know, is critical. And Carol Brown, thank you for finding our live chat. It's great to see your little note there. There's a lot of discussion around alkalining and alkalining foods and what's an acidic food. And then when you're in keto, how our body makes the butyrate in our digestives, in our microbiome, and how that's being affected. I would say from my personal experience, I'm much more interested in water coming through this structured form, like in our vegetables, than I am in alkaline water. But I know that there, I drink it at certain times. I'm just not totally sure that it's like where we should be hanging our hat. I think we need to be focusing on hydration and how we get the hydration in our body to where it needs to be.
Well, we know that the structured water in green vegetables is alkaline because green vegetables are alkaline. So do you have to consume the green vegetables whole to get the structured water, or if you juice them, do you get the structured water?
So you get more out of them when they're whole. But like in my household, everybody drinks green juice every single day, and we have forever. And for anyone that's visiting my home, we try to push it on them and get them to drink it too, because it is so powerful. So yes, you get it in both ways.
Okay. So Sandra Wesh asks, this is my favorite, Naomi. So I eat pretty healthy and exercise, but I have a very stressful job. You can't relate to that, can you? Yeah. And I do like to have a glass or two of wine a few nights a week. How does that impact my weight loss efforts?
Well, I think a glass or two, a couple times a week. Moderation is always key. But I think, I'm French. I'm English and I'm French. So you're asking the wrong girl. I believe in the power of red wine. I believe in the power of the molecules found in it. I believe in the concept, having spent so much time with the vintners in the south of France, which is where I sourced a lot of my ingredients from. I learned about the power of terroir, where it's the soil, it's the sun, it's the nutrients, it's the vines, it's all coming together, and that nourishes our body and it nourishes our entire system. So I'm a believer of joy and moderation being key. And I think if you are dealing with a lot of stress in your work, gaining the tools to be able to upregulate your parasympathetic nervous system so you can handle more of a load of stress, and you can have more of the ability to move through the different emotions. There are some just amazing techniques out there that can help us to handle stress. Stress is such the challenge, right? Like when it comes to weight loss, that's the big deal. I would be focusing on how to manage that stress and not worry about the wine.
Yeah, and more self-care, for that stress, right? That's something I learned from you that's made a huge difference. So I know we have more questions coming in, and
I would just add one thing to that too. One thing that I love that I experienced in France, and what I always have wanted to bring to the US, and I started to do that when I built my nutritional company 10 years ago, is this joie de vivre, right? So it's not about saying no, it's about really feeding your well-being. So I have so much family in France. They drink wine. My grandmother drinks a glass of wine for lunch. She has a glass of wine for dinner. My grandfather is the same way. My great grandmother would start her day with a little piece of dark chocolate. That's so important in their well-being. And yet, I never ever experienced my family dealing with weight issues in France at all, and never saying no to wine and things like that. But they really were able to sort of create that joie de vivre and not be concerned with the same level of stress. So I think for us here, my dream is that we're able to, learn how to deal with the stress, me too, all of us, but then really allow ourselves to embrace some of the joy.
I just really want to congratulate Jacqueline L., Gail S., Nadia L. for joining us on the 9-week switch. And we have so many questions coming in, really, really great questions. And the team here is just kind of going crazy trying to answer them or get them to me and Naomi. But I wanted to just take a minute because there are so many people jumping in, but I know because I was you, that there's some of you that are wondering, you're wondering if you should do it. You're wondering, is this really going to work? You probably should. And so in my life, I've learned a couple of things, just a couple, but they're really important. One is that when you're hesitating, it's either because you should and you're just scared, or you shouldn't. And if it doesn't feel right for you to join us and this program's not for you, I know that Naomi's so grateful to have you here. She told me whether they join us on the 9-week switch or not, I want them to learn. I want to give. I want them to understand. I want them to have there's going to be 2 or 3 things at least that every one of you will take away that can be life-changing. But if you're in that place where you should, you're just scared, let me give you some reassurance that you're in good hands. You'll be accomplishing all of the things that you're hoping will really happen and that you've been hoping for to happen in your life. So whether, I don't know what page you're on, we have a couple different pages, but there's either a button you can click to get started or get more information, or I know the staff's been posting a link for those of you that are on YouTube so that you can find out more about it and jump in with, oh my gosh, this big list of people that just, I can't keep, we'll be here till 9, just me reading names, but Liz Groves is asking, I know it's fat first, but can some carbs be eaten with breakfast and lunch or just with dinner?
So that's a bit of a loaded question. It depends on how metabolically flexible you are, and that answer can change also over time. So I think once we would figure out, how fat adapted you are, if you are fat adapted, how much energy do you have? Where's your sense of well-being? Do you feel balanced hormonally? That's one of my absolute favorite benefits of keto is just the hormonal balance. And everybody in my house loves keto except for my 16-year-old daughter. And she's the one that could benefit from it more than anything. So she wants to, have her carbs throughout the day. It just depends on the individual. My younger brother, he can have carbs for breakfast and be in keto, and I can't. So it really depends on the flexibility of your metabolism.
Yeah, I know some people even around me that have some carbs for breakfast and they feel great throughout the day. If I do, I don't feel as well. And so, with the program and the coaches and the office hours, we can really help you through that. It was so funny, Naomi, because the very next question is from Bridget Lamonte. And she says, how do we balance our hormones, Naomi, and after the change?
So I love that question, and it's something that I'm really obsessed with for us as women. And what I'm mostly interested in is there's so much mystery for us as women around hormones. I just had the privilege of interviewing some of the top experts on hormones, of course, right? When I want to understand, I go and I try to find them all. And what I learned in those interviews was so surprising. So we're going to be releasing those interviews in the next couple of months. But for example, when as women we feel confused, it can be because we have low testosterone, low free testosterone. When we don't have enough energy, it could be related to testosterone. But balancing our hormones and knowing what balanced hormones are is very difficult, because so many women, when they're young, will go on to birth control, and that creates, an imbalance from that early age. So they don't really even know sort of what balance looks like. And so it's a journey, but I can tell you from the researchers that we've worked with, being able to embrace keto is an incredibly powerful part of that journey to balance, and balance at every stage in our life is obviously different. So it's a huge topic, the most important topic for us as women, and an area that we really don't get into the way we should.
But it sounds like we're going to. So a few people are asking how they get in the program. So just make sure that we're posting the links. So just watch for those. Mel King is asking, I wonder what you think about HIIT, high intensity training, not HIIT, high intensity interval training. HIIT, not HIIT.
Yeah, that's a cool question. So I think it depends on the individual. So HIIT, high intensity interval training, is something that I speak about in my book Low 15, because when done over a 30-minute period, it's amazing at activating the autophagy in our bodies. It is one of the best exercises to activate autophagy. And that research comes from Dr. Beth Levine. So that's really interesting. High intensity exercise training in and of itself, it's just going to depend on the individual, right? Like for me, when my core temperature goes up that high, I really struggle with it. But there are other body types that do really well with it. So it's just going to depend on the individual.
Thank you. We have tons of questions coming in about water fasting. And I have to tell you that doing it with the group, with support as you're going through it, like if all you did was this program, just to be able to do that 5-day water fast with the group and get that change in your life, just that alone would be worth it. But we have one question about the water fasting. So first of all, Naomi, when I first would tell people water fast, what they thought I meant was I went without water for 5 days. So I want to be really clear. It means you only consume water for 5 days, but they want to know, how often do you recommend doing a water fast?
Oh, wow. So the research is all over the map, and it depends on the individual. So for me, with my autoimmune issues, I can do a water fast once a month and benefit from it. If someone's looking to do like a reset, you can do it once a quarter as the season changes. You can do it, some people do it once a year. You know, if you're fighting a disease and you want to really use the fasting to help your body to be able to fight the disease, then your doctor may have you do it more frequently. I mean, there's so many different ways that you can do that water fasting. But what I can tell you is when you do your first water fast and we do it together as a group, like I literally will be doing it with you each and every day. And we will be in our community sharing with each other. And we will have different experts coming in during those 5 days and doing, you know, questions and answers for us. And it's just mind-blowing, and it's so positive, and it's so good. And it just, I would say, like, for so many thousands of people, you know, hundreds of thousands of people have watched The Real Skinny on Fat. And as I mentioned, you know, fasting is one of the top searched health terms, and it's been something we've been doing forever, right? So when you think about all of these factors and the practitioners that are out there that have done thousands and thousands of fasts with their patients, it truly is humbling, and what it does on a biological level. So to me, it's like the cherry on the top, the icing on the cake. And when someone does a water fast, like my CFO, who never thought he could do anything good for his health, and he breezed right through his first one. He's done 4 of them now. He will do this one with us in that 6th bonus module. Once he was able to do that, it was almost like he became the new version of himself. He believed he could do so many things, and his growth was just off the charts.
So amazing. I'm so excited for us that are being able to come into this program. Can you guys imagine being able to be in this program and be on calls like this with Naomi, like throughout the program? It's pretty awesome, huh? I want to welcome like another list of people to the program, but Shirley Ann Royal asks, are your autoimmune disorders healed? Because we haven't really talked about your eczema and things on this particular broadcast. We kind of haven't talked about that for a while, but I know the fasting has been critical for that. So are they healed? Because so many people are dealing with autoimmune, you know, disorders.
So they're not fully healed. They are suppressed. They evolve, they change. I deal with different things like, you know, as I mentioned, my family, we just moved to Gainesville, Florida, which has more PhDs and more trees than almost anywhere else in the country. And so most people have more allergies there than other parts of the country. And my home has lots of trees, and they're all starting to flower right now. And if I were there 3 years ago, my allergies would be, consuming me. I don't have any allergies right now. So it's this constant sort of transformation as my life changes, and my autoimmune issues are affected by the amount of stress I may have in my life, by the amount of travel I do, by all different factors. So I'm on this journey right there with everybody else, and I've definitely transformed a lot of them, and I'm able to function in a different way. But like I said, I did this exercise with my skin, trying new things last week, and because of my autoimmune disorders, I have very, very sensitive skin, and it showed up differently.
Yeah. So I know it's not healed, but I also know you keep them very well under control by the fasting and what you consume, and staying on keto, and the healthy omega-3s, and what you consume. And as long as they're not flaring up, it's as good as healed. You just have to be careful.
It's
Welcome Peggy Q and Nadia K. Nina Phillips is asking about a juice fast, Naomi.
And what is the question about the juice fast?
What about it? That's
Okay.
the question.
So I've done a lot of juice fasting over my years. I love juicing. I love juicing herbs. I really love juicing herbs. I love the hydration. I love the nutrient density in a juice. But I think that there's definitely benefits to doing like a juice. I don't know what you would call it, because it's not a fast. It's just a different way of, using different juices to help to detox. I used to do them, and the sugar content was so high that I would have insane cravings as I was juicing, but I also got a lot of benefits from the juices. So it's not my preferred method, but there's definitely a place for different juice fasts. Like I used to do, watermelon juice fasting, where we juice the rind, the whole thing. There's so many different ways to incorporate the opportunity for your cells to activate more autophagy and detox.
So let's take just a quick minute and have those that are with us online asking questions. I'm very curious, in joining the 9-week switch, what's the number one thing you're looking to accomplish? I really want to know how much of it is youth, how much of it is autoimmune, how much of it is weight, how much of it is stress. Like I really want to understand the impetus behind why you would want to be on join the 9-week switch. So Judy Nakis, you are my favorite question of the night. I will tell you why. I have a joke. There's a joke in my family that my portion size is either nothing or all of it, right? Like you can have none or all. Like there's no, range. So she says, would it be harmful to do 18-6 every day? I seem to have less hunger when I do that every day. I feel like when I start eating, I don't want to stop. And it almost feels a bit binge-like. Like it's easier for me to have no chocolate than a little. So what are your thoughts, Naomi?
I think that is an awesome question. Look, the science is showing that 18-6 is phenomenal, and a lot of the science is when it's being done every day. So I think it's great. It really, I love that you're listening to your own body. So if that rhythm and that pulsing of that activity is working for you, then you definitely keep it going. And I know a lot of people, like I know brilliant medical doctors who eat one meal a day and have done that for over a decade, right? Like incredible, incredible researchers, practitioners, individuals that have changed the globe, really. I mean, I'm thinking of a couple right now with their medical research, and one meal a day is what they've done for their adult life. So I just think right now we're in such a special time where people were taking what works in one country and incorporating it into our country and we're sharing, and because we live in this digital world, we're able to like be having these community conversations, and it's just so incredibly exciting. So keep it up and share with, you know, your friends and family and other people that can learn from you, because it's a gift.
Judy, I do that every day except one day a week. So that's worked really well for me. So Micheline Levesque is asking, she would be interested in having information on maintaining weight once you've reached your goal while still living keto and intermittent fasting lifestyle.
That's a great question too. So maintaining the weight, it's all about maintaining the lean muscle. And, you know, I found that with keto, sometimes, you know, it took me time to be able to migrate into the same sort of exercises I was doing beforehand. And that ultimately wasn't the type of exercising that was best for me on keto. So we're going to like really dive into that in our 9-week switch. But I would say it's a focus on maintaining your lean muscle so that your lean muscle can really maintain your health and your weight, and give back to you from a metabolic perspective.
So that's perfect, because Connie Stark-Doak is asking, what are the recommended supplements and vegan and or vegetarian diet options for older women? I'm concerned with losing some weight while maintaining muscle in absence of meat proteins and then female hormones as well.
So I love that question. And I don't know if you saw the interview with Dr. Tony Bark. She's like a super woman, right? She is in her late 50s. She has an insane body. She has 14% or something like that body fat. She's keto, vegan, and she makes like the most amazing food. So all I can tell you is take a look at, and she's a medical doctor. So take a look at what she's doing, because she's quite the rock star.
That's like, that blew my mind. So I actually knew Tony and worked with her on a couple of other projects, but didn't know that about her. I didn't know she was, you know, doing vegetarian keto. But that woman is insanely amazing. Yeah. Jovita Templin is asking, I have been eating keto for almost 6 months now, and I've been noticing that my hair has been getting thinner. My hair was already thin and fine, but now I'm losing a lot more. Is the diet healthy? I think it is. Then why is this happening, and how do I make it better?
That's a really good question too. So that's a question that what we'll do is we'll have one of our medical experts have maybe there can be a one-on-one, like one of our coaches can organize where
that would be a really good conversation for your bonus nutritional call to go over your specific information. So Naomi, what is a good, so I got a lot of this information through your program, and for those of you that are still with us and considering the 9-week switch, a lot of this personal information can be answered through this, including the next question, which is, my Dr. Mark Hyman is like not available to me as a doctor. Dr. Tony Bark is not available to me as a doctor. Now, you made a lot of their information available to us, but if we want to do this stuff, what's a great way to find a doctor to work with?
So there are associations, and there is a link. Sarah, do you have the name of that link?
Yes.
So we're going to get you the link.
We'll post it. Facebook and
yeah, we'll post it. Let us post it right now. Our team will post that. But there's a great way to access a local integrative medical doctor, and I highly recommend that. You know, if you've been going to a traditional doctor for your entire life, to be able to start to bring in a medical professional who has the same mindset, who is focused on the newer research, is thinking more globally, is really of the time. your health just benefits so much. When I was doing these interviews, I was talking a little bit about the hormone researchers, and I was interviewing a lot of beauty experts, a lot of dermatologists, and the dermatologists that were more conventional and were from, you know, a different period of time, while brilliant, their beliefs about the skin were 180 degrees different than the new dermatologists that were really looking at beauty coming from within and coming from without at the same time, and the importance of the microbiome on the skin and prebiotics. I mean, it was like they were from two different worlds. So I think we all sort of owe ourselves that. The name of the organization that we were just talking about is ifm.org. ifm.org. That's a great resource, and we're going to post it up.
Integrated Medicine Docs. They're the best. So what about fasting for people that are underweight, Naomi?
So it's not recommended for people that are underweight. And again, it's something that if you're underweight, you want to speak with your doctor about. You know, if somebody's underweight and they're underweight because they're dealing with a disease or what it might, I mean, it just depends on what the cause is. Or they don't have enough lean muscle. I mean, there's so many different reasons, but again, that's one that's definitely for the medical professional.
Okay. And Al Dewar is asking, in terms of electrolytes, what is your recommended range of daily sodium and potassium? The internet is a very wide range of recommendation for sodium, potassium, magnesium. And I think probably a good thing to do at this point would be talk about electrolytes during a water fast.
That's a great question. And let us post, like, we have a very specific recommendation. So we're going to post it so that you can see all of that, and then you can have access to that and you can keep that. And it's very, very interesting, right? So sodium and your magnesium and your potassium levels when you're fasting at different times, when you're getting into keto, it all varies. How much you sweat. Like, these are very important numbers to be thinking about, and it's a complicated question when you're fasting. So let us post what we have, the chart that we have. But I can tell you, there are some times when I do fasts, I need to be incorporating my electrolytes. And there are other times when I'll do a 5-day water fast and I won't need to. And it just depends on sort of how my body is doing at that time. So great question, and one that is one of our core areas of focus.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to me. If we can just imagine what life is like going through a process with you over 9 weeks, like it's a short enough amount of time to get an amazing result, but it's a long enough amount of time to really learn a lot and change a lot, right? So what you've put together, so we have these modules, these workbooks, the online program. I know there's a lot of weight loss and health programs out there that are online, and they're $997, you know, and you just get access to the website. I've done coaching programs, these 9 live group coaching calls, you know, that's a $1,000 to $2,000 value. You have your supplements that I know are over $350 to get us started with, and that one-on-one call that you set up for us as a bonus for the seminar special is pretty amazing. And if you weren't here when we went over it, or you're just joining us, I know we actually have had a few people jump on late. The seminar special, the whole program, everything that you get is $1,297. And I think you might have that much cost into this thing. Like it's pretty amazing. I really encourage you, if you have an autoimmune disease, or you want to lose weight or feel better or have more energy or not age so fast or regain some of those things that you've had, and even just get these questions answered. You know, the 9-week switch is the place to be for sure. We have another question. Claire Weed is asking, what is the right way to do a ketogenic diet plan? What's the right way? Because I used to, a lot of people confuse it with low carb or high protein, or what they now call dirty keto, which is you can eat all the, you know, the toxic oils and those kinds of things, just to keep it low carb. And the second part of that is, what do you do about keto breath? Because oil pulling didn't work.
Yeah, it's a good question. So the first part of the question is, how do you define?
What's the right way to do a keto diet lifestyle plan?
It's going to depend on what you're looking for. So when Montel, Williams was, he helped me to host the Real Skinny on Fat. He has MS. He's looking to do he does a therapeutic keto diet, right? So he's getting 85% of his calories coming from fat. For me, I'm looking more at about 75% of my calories coming from fat. So it depends on what your goals are. You could have a low level of ketones, and be in ketosis. So the 0.05 millimoles has you in that fat burning mode. But if you're looking for therapeutic benefits, you want to be, in the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, and then you want to really be focusing on how many ketones you're producing. And just as importantly, how many of these ketones are you absorbing, right? So there's so much information that I can tell you is in the universities right now with these brilliant researchers that has not even begun to trickle out yet. And so within this 9-week switch, I'm going to bring some of those researchers onto our calls, right? I have experts that need to go onto the national platform and have the conversations. When we did recently that show with Dr. Oz, when Montel and I did that with him, and Josh Axe did the first part of it. Josh Axe was talking about dirty keto, and then Montel and I were talking about the Real Skinny on Fat, and then we were talking about how MCT oil can really be the shortcut to keto. There were more questions that came out of that show than we were able to answer. And there were questions, as I mentioned, from the producers, from Dr. Oz. And so we took those questions, and I worked with a team of the best and brightest researchers in keto to get those questions answered. Because when those questions are swirling around, then what happens is people start just trying to get to answers. And unless they've got the correct answers, it becomes bad information. And I'm not saying that would come out of the Dr. Oz show. I'm just saying, in general, within all of us, right? Within the audiences, people start to think about things. So the research that's going on right now is so powerful, is so cutting edge. We've got to just get it out there quickly. And that's why, I can't wait for all of us to be able to understand the depth and the breadth of the keys to, how and what type of keto is right. As it relates to the keto breath, again, that's got a lot to do with the way that you're utilizing the ketones in your body, and how can you utilize them more effectively. What is your hydration? We know that our gums and our mouth is really our gateway to health. When I was in New York last week, I was meeting with some of the top beauty editors, and they're really looking at gum health as the next beauty trend. And so there's a lot going on in our mouth that we need to really be able to pay attention to, but it could have something to do with, how you're utilizing those ketones.
Naomi, Sandy Shams wants to know, she's particularly interested in autophagy and the benefits. I think it's so exciting that you got to interview the Nobel Prize winner. That's so thrilling. And to just have access to what you learned is amazing. But she's saying, in your opinion, are the benefits of a fast mimicking diet as effective as water fasting?
Oh, now that's a tough question. So thank you for being as in love with autophagy as I am. When I first learned the word, I was in Calabria, Italy, and I was over there because I was with the team of researchers that were teaching me about the power of the citrus bergamot fruit. and how it was so good for our cholesterol, helping to balance our HDL and our LDL. People were taking it with statins. Other people were doing research where they were taking it instead of statins. I mean, like, they were looking at it for the antioxidant abilities. There was all this information. And Dr. Elizabeth Janda started to share with me this citrus bergamot tea. And I just was like, oh my gosh, it's delicious, but what's the deal? Like, 'cause we drank many cups that day. And she told me that it activated her autophagy. And that was when I really learned about this word, and I got so excited. And I'm like, tell me everything, Dr. Janda. And we must have had a 3-day conversation. Like, literally, she was doing research. She's a world-renowned researcher in this field. And I couldn't believe that I had never heard this word. And I was even more surprised when I came back to the United States. And all of the doctors and most of the researchers that I knew that were even in the aging field, like, either had heard of it and didn't think about it, or never had heard of it. Like, so many medical doctors who are practitioners had never heard of it. So I was really like, I was puzzled. I thought, if this can be so powerful, and this was, I think, in 2014 or late 13.
Oh, pre-Nobel Prize.
Oh yeah, way before it. And so I just thought, am I missing something here? Like, what's going on? Why is this so niche? And then I started to write my book, Glow 15, in 2014. And then in 2016, when the Nobel Prize in Medicine was won for the impact that it has on our health and the transformative effect of it, I was just blown away and so excited to learn that. And everybody, when they knew I was writing a book on autophagy, they're like, nobody is going to be able to pronounce it. Nobody's going to get the concept. They're going to think you're crazy. Don't do it. This is not the cutting edge. This is the bleeding edge. Like, you must be out of your mind. And what I found is that millions of people get it, love it, embrace it. So I just want to thank you so much for loving it and getting those kind of benefits.
Okay, we have a final 2 questions, and I know they're 2 of your favorites. The first is, does fasting stimulate stem cell production? That's from Libby Odom. Thank you, Libby.
Okay, so just to go back for 1 second, we'll do this quickly. The fasting mimicking diet, the question about that.
Oh,
is
yeah.
effective as a water fast. So look, there's a lot of research around the fasting mimicking diet. I think, researchers say different things. I'm a naturalist, and I really believe that we have in our hands what we've been given, and fasting is it's like breathing. So I love water fasting. I know that a lot of people do very well with fasting mimicking. So we can have that conversation at a later time. But I just think there's so much data around fasting in general, and there's so many different ways to do it.
So now, fasting and stem cells.
So thanks to the researchers that are focused on the fasting mimicking diet, like Dr. Walter Longo and Dr. Joseph Anton. Dr. Joseph Anton actually was the one that told me first. And I remember in that interview that after day 3, you're really starting to build the stem cells in day 4. And once he said those words, I was like obsessed, right? We can build our own stem cells and get them going on day 4. So yes, that's what they're saying. That's where the research is, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, that's I think one of the biggest perks.
Yes.
Of the 5-day water fast for sure.
Because how many people can afford to do stem cells, and how many of us need them? And to think that our body, when given the chance, when it's not having to focus on digesting, which it has to do all the time, and so many of us are in that constant state of feeding, so it's having to digest all day, halfway through the night. We're always in that place. To be able to have that rest from digestion look at what we create, new stem cells.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Free, easy, and you feel great while you're doing it, right?
Yes.
Um, so the last question, I know this is one of your very favorites, is how do we get our families and especially our children on keto and eating this way? What are some ideas?
Well, I don't have all the answers because I have 4 children. 3 of them I can control, and one of them is as I mentioned, she's 16. The way that not that I want to control my children, but I can lead them through example and only have certain foods in our refrigerator. My kids understand how much we care about energy and playing and being outside and doing activities and having fun and feeling healthy. So they know that that's part of our mantra at home. And because I never grew up with junk food or processed foods, like they don't know any different. The other day it was my nephew's birthday and my brother brought over a cake, and he brought over a gluten-free, dairy-free cake, and then he left and some of the cake was still there. And the next morning I get up and my daughter's eating a piece of cake first thing in the morning, and I wanted to freak out. But, I tried to be cool, took the cake and threw it in the garbage and let her eat what she wanted to. So I think it's just about leading through example. I think it's about having really yummy, delicious keto foods. So like everybody in my house loves fat bombs. Everybody in my house loves our keto ice cream that I shared on the Dr. Oz show. Like everybody just loves certain keto foods. We have an amazing, amazing keto bread recipe. So, I don't eat gluten and I don't want the carbs in bread. So like bread was like a 4-letter word for me until we came up with this insanely delicious keto bread. And I hope that all of you are subscribing to our YouTube channel because, oh my goodness, that keto recipe is going to be up there very soon. We're just so excited about YouTube and sharing so much of my world through that format, the travels that we're taking and so forth. So we're really excited about being able to share these kind of recipes. But if your family, like my family, loves the time of coming together at meals, and that's where we have lots of conversations, we enjoy each other, you can make the keto food so delicious. Like in our house, our rice is cauliflower rice. And if there's another rice that's made, I'm thinking, like, why would anyone in our family want to put that amount of sugar in their bodies? Like I am a recovering addict. I'm a recovering sugar addict. So I don't want to put my children in that place.
Well, thank you so much I know a lot of how we're taught and those foods, and we want to nourish our children. We want them to be healthy and happy. And so Naomi, from all of us, thank you so much. You must be in ketosis because you have gone and gone and gone and gone on and answered so many questions. Thank you so much. And for those of you who are still with us, go ahead, take the plunge. You won't regret it. Click on the button or click on the link and get in the 9-week switch. You won't regret it. You'll be able to accomplish the things that you're really looking to accomplish with a lot of support, a lot of information, and you will look completely different, feel completely different, and be very glad you did. So thank you so much, Naomi, and thank you so much, everyone else, for being with us tonight.
Kat, thank you for sharing your journey and sharing your before and after. We here have been so privileged to work with you and to have that vulnerability that you brought to the conversation. And that's really what it's about. It's that connective tissue where we can say, oh yeah, I can identify with that. I can feel that. And that community allows us to really, take our well-being to that next level. And, Nan and Rachel and Sarah and Jamie and Ken and Lizzie and all of our team that is here supporting this this webinar. You know, my whole goal with the webinar was to create an environment where everybody there are thousands, I mean, we had like over 10,000 people that wanted to learn from these, you know, ways to 10x our health. I hope you've gotten 1, 2, 3 concepts that have transformed you and that will change you and give you that energy so that you can live your own better life. And for everyone that's joined us on the 9-week switch, we're going to have the best time. I can't wait. It's just the beginning. And congratulations to all of you.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Okay.